Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism, back with another live show for you today. It is Friday. That means it's time for another Jeranism Friday Lounge. So thank you so much for joining us. We do all appreciate it. Myself, first and foremost, but all the guests as well. So let's introduce them and see who's joining us today. First, we have the best voice in Flat Earth, Karen B. Karen, what's up?
Hey, Jaron. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Doing excellent. Great. Glad you're here. We also have Wendell from the Flat Reality Earth Explorers joining us. Wendell, what's new?
Hey, it's been an embarrassment of riches this week with the Flat Earth community. I can't even believe it. Lots to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so much always to talk about. We also have back home, finally upside down in his correct orientation, Iru Landucci. Iru, Nur para todos. What's up?
What's up, man? Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on. I'm start melting down. Here, this is the moment when I want to get back to some cold place. Not like Antarctica. I don't need so much cold. But right now we are like, I'm gonna say in Celsius, but it's around 35 Celsius degrees. Make your own conversion.
I just
enter to Google and make the conversion, but it's really hot. Yeah.
Google knows. Yeah, 95 Fahrenheit. Just check that out.
And I am not have here my air, because I moved to a new house a few months ago. I don't have the air conditioner, so maybe if you hear some noise in the background, I am not in the ISS. I am with the fan to my right, and a cup of ice in the bucket. So trying to, make the fan move the cold air from the ice in the bucket and trying to reach me, but that's impossible.
I'm guessing
it's not working.
I'm guessing you're probably shirtless.
Well, not. Don't start making your fantasies, because not. I am not in that position now. But maybe in a half hour, I can share not only my screen but also my webcam.
Please no.
If you know that the show start going down,
all right,
we can start making this kind of thing.
If we're not getting enough viewers, then we'll do that. All my fantasies could come true here on this Valentine's Day, by the way. So all my fantasies.
Oh yeah, it's Valentine's.
Valentine's.
When you said in Spanish, here we said Val en ti, which means Val inside you.
Oh, great. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that is Sal Valentin.
That's why the title of the show is Another Day rather than something else. I'm not a big
Perfect.
It's also show number 14, which is, oh, wow. Coincidence, I guess. But it is February 14th, 2020. It is Valentine's Day. But every day should be Valentine's Day. Every day you should be spending with your significant other and making them feel special. Not just one day. It's just another corporate,
The Hallmark holiday.
Oh, boy. Get your flowers, get your roses, because there's no better way to show somebody you love them than by getting them some flowers that somebody else picked and somebody else cut and arranged for you, and all you did was walk through a line at the grocery store. Wow.
Schedule your dinner at the overcrowded restaurant with a limited menu because it's Valentine's Day and there's too many people.
Get your prime rib dinner for only $67 a person. That's only $134 a couple. And, oh, wow, it's beautiful. All right, let's continue on. We also have the doctor in the house, Rodrigo Ferrari Nunes. What's up, doctor?
What's up, Jaron? It's good. Just relaxing here. Busy as usual, and yeah.
Good. And we also have
thank you for having me. Yeah.
Austin Whitsitt from Whitsitt Gets It. It's like a tongue twister every time. Austin, how's it going? Fresh off your McToon debate, and I agree with you. I'm not calling him MC ever.
Yeah, you can. I'm doing good, bro. How are you doing, man? Glad to be here.
Doing good. Glad you're here. Glad everybody's here. I want to start off with something kind of funny. Just, I don't very often get to see movies, and I have, what is it called? Amazon Prime, right? So there is some on my smart TV, very smart TV. You can watch an occasional movie on Amazon Prime. And I saw this movie the other day. My wife and I watched it called Solver. Terrible movie. I don't recommend it at all. I don't know about you guys. I never can see a good movie anymore. Is there any good movies out ever?
Very rare.
They're terrible. Yeah. But anyway, this movie is called Solver, and now I lost my little thing here. But, it's always a blessing when you're watching a movie and there's a little scene and you just start bursting out like, yes, finally, somebody who wrote this movie. This is beautiful. So just watch this one tiny little scene and watch this little nugget that they threw in there. It's great. Here we go.
Hey, did Sheriff Riley tell you about the car they found down the road?
No.
No, the plates were faker than the moon landing. Might have just been stolen, but I think it's connected somehow.
So if you didn't hear that, he's talking about some car down the road, and he goes, did the sheriff tell you about the car down the road? He says, no. And he says, oh, well, the plates were faker than the moon landing. One more time just for fun. That's good stuff.
Hey, did Sheriff Riley tell you about the car they found down the road?
No.
No, the plates were faker than the moon landing. Might have just been stolen, but I think it's connected somehow.
Hey, Diego.
Sometimes that's the only way you can throw these little gems in there, is like a little hidden thing like that. But again, it's just calling out the hilarity of the fact that the car down the road clearly had fake plates, and they were faker than the moon landing. So
there's jokes about the fake moon landing in so many movies, though.
Right.
It pops up all the time.
Yeah, well, the beginning of my show starts out with astronauts to the moon.
Yeah.
Hilarious, coming from aliens themselves.
Even that Interstellar film, which is total space propaganda, at the same time in the storyline in the film, when he talks about the moon landings, and they say, no, everybody knows it's fake now. Like in the future. Yeah, it was just a joke, just to beat the Russians out with the other story, which is bullshit as well. But yeah.
Right. What else happened this week? I did get a letter. I hadn't gotten one in a while, but I got a letter from, let me see if I can bring this up. And I always like to show this just because people still don't think it's real, but this letter did reach me with a 2-cent stamp on it. So, that does work. You can get away with mailing in the United States with 2 cents. You just need to watch my video, how to mail a letter for 2 cents, and you basically put zip exempt like you see there. Oh, I have to circle it over here. Like you see here, zip exempt, and then you have to write this little data here up here near the stamps. Put 2-cent stamps on it, and the letter will get there as long as you drop it off at the post office. Don't put it in your mailbox outside your house. Sometimes they won't take it in that particular instance, but if you drop it off at the post office, it will get to its destination. So she just wrote, Dear Jaron and all those of Globebusters, and by the way, this girl's name is Kim. She said, I've been listening to you guys for some time, enriched by your research and wisdom. I was awakened from the global nonsense when I discovered star trails and photography, at the same time learning NASA didn't land on the moon. Thank you very much. I've abandoned many of the church's dogmas and began researching ancient texts and scripture. I stumbled on one Enoch in a book I copied and enclosed for you with a few pages. The last page records, mountains shall become flat like the earth. You came to mind. So what she did is she included a volume 1 of, I don't know what this book is called. I can't even pronounce this word. Is it pseudepigrapha? Is that a word? Yeah,
pseudoepigrapha.
Thank you.
Fake letters, maybe?
Yeah, pseudepigraphical means more than one author, I think.
Okay, so pseudepigrapha, or however you say it, I don't know. It says apocalyptic literature and testaments, but it's basically, I guess this guy, it says new translations from the authoritative texts with introductions and critical notes. But basically, I guess it's like a rewriting, not a rewriting, but a new translation of Enoch. And in Enoch 1, there is a verse that says very clearly, and then the mountain shall become flat like the earth in presence of his righteousness. So just something new. I don't know if people ever saw anything flat earth related in Enoch. Then she says here at the bottom, P.S. Thanks for the 2-cent stamp info. I've blessed many others through this truth that has planted seeds of info for them to receive other truths like the one that we aren't spinning on a ball. So thank you, Kim, for that. I always love to get little letters like that. I really appreciate that. So that happened this week. So again, thank you, Kim. That was awesome. And I'll have to look further into these, new translations. But let's see here. What else do I want to talk about? I did
Is that Kim's penmanship? Because she has very, very nice writing.
Oh, yeah, and her letter is awesome. I should have taken a picture of the letter, but the letter, that's what my wife and I both said. We looked at it like, man, that is beautiful. She writes beautifully.
Yeah, that's a lost art. Not many people write like that anymore.
No, I agree. Nice. Very nice. So nice to receive something. If you want to send me a letter or send me some book or text like that, feel free to do so. You can do so at my P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California, 95344.
Yeah, man, but be careful. Could be with coronavirus, the letter.
Oh, shit. Speaking,
Oh God, don't go there.
I don't know if any of you guys saw my stream yesterday, but I did the beginning of it with a mask on. I don't know if
Dude, I was
saw it.
rolling, dude. You
Did you
had me dying, dude.
And of course, there's all these comments and people. Is this real? Is Jaron Rizzi losing his mind? It's like, dude, I can't even make a joke. You can't even. And I hear Owen Benjamin say that sometimes, where he's like, don't be sarcastic. And he's right on the internet. You can't even be sarcastic sometimes. People just don't get it. And I'm talking about wiping the rim of my glass with my Clorox wipes, and I don't know. I had fun with it. It was fun anyway. But yeah, and then I saw this. Well, I guess we can go over this article. Oh man, what happened again? Oh, there it goes. Let's bring this up for everybody. So we can talk about, of course, the asteroid that will destroy life coming tomorrow. I'm surprised they haven't said it's shaped like a heart yet.
Another one? I was going to say.
It's probably shaped like a asteroid alert. NASA spots a 21,000 miles per hour space rock heading towards Earth. Will it hit? It says it's making a close approach. It also says in here that, look at this, asteroid warning, NASA tracks 1 kilometer rock that could kill millions on rapid Earth approach.
Oh man, I like the symbology.
And ask for money, of course.
1 and then 2.
Right next to the coronavirus, next to another asteroid
this is
warning.
What I was going to say. This is what I was going to say. Iru mentioned the coronavirus coming in the mail. Look at this one now.
Yeah.
Cat owners.
Yeah, what do you think Space Force is gonna do? There's gonna be money going in for this kind of stuff.
Oh boy,
asteroids are coming and whatnot.
And look at this: the coronavirus UK cat owners urged to keep their pet indoors. Now they've even extended the fear to cats. And you're right. Asteroid warning. NASA tracks a killer rock approach tomorrow. Could wipe out a continent. That's very scary.
1 million people or a continent. Millions.
Oh, millions. It's coming. Oh, boy. What do you guys think about this coronavirus? Tell me how it's going in other countries. I want to know if it's the fear is approaching this country as well. Or what's going on?
At least here in Argentina, we are not worried because maybe we have this special antibody created to survive of any catastrophe, economic catastrophe, things like that. So maybe we are more evolved than European guys and Chinese
worse
guys.
Problems to deal with.
We have a very worse problems. Yeah, exactly. But here, of course, in the news, on televisions, paper news, digital paper news, it's all over the place. Of course, coronavirus, it's not a new virus. Of course, they talk about this new mutation, which is worse than the other one, because all the years, the virus take millions of years to evolve, supposedly. But suddenly, in 3 years, 4 years, it came this new kind of virus all the time without what? The human intervention in the lab. It's via nature because the medicine that we use and all the it's the virus is so intelligent that it's creating this new form himself in just less than 5 years. It's crazy. But
it's many a year, I guess they say. They even go further than that. They say they say several times a year. I guess the flu virus. It's many times. It's unpredictable and whatnot.
The crazy thing is that they don't call a pandemic or some kind of epidemic conditions with cancer or regular flu, which kills thousands of people every year all around the world. Hunger, exactly. But if you contract this kind of thing, my recommendation, I have always my CDS or MMS in my refrigerator. So you can, anytime that I have some kind of flu or cold, I always drink it, and in the next day I'm normal. So I mean, the coronavirus is it's not a scam in terms of the people that are dying and things like that, but it's a scam in the way that it's all a business, like always.
Oh, of course.
That's my opinion.
No, I would agree with you. And I saw some comments, people say, "Oh, you're making light of people dying." No, they don't get it. They don't get it. And of course, nobody cares about the people that die while they're making their iPhones or anything like that. But all of a sudden, 3 people die and put in a body bag, and people think that I need to be outraged or something. I saw
Something
this too.
that really shocked me was looking from through a television here in Argentina was like the people in China that was uploading videos talking about the government are keeping us in our house and this is insane and blah blah blah. Not just one or two, a few people disappear from their house because they are uploading this video. Of course, the government knows the IP, so they go to the house and suddenly they disappear. Like they put in shell, things like that. So it's crazy also. And of course, you need to relate it with all the economic conditions of China. You know, the last year, 2019, was ending, for example, in Hong Kong, with thousands of people in the street complain about the government and things like that. And now you are not even allowed to go out to the street. And of course, this is going to be also have a major impact in the economics front for China and all the area of Asia. So it's not, for me, it's not just like a pharmaceutical trying to make money. It's also like this kind of strategic wars, silence weapon for, I cannot remember the name of the book, but it's part of this kind of wars without weapons, fire.
Yes. I'm just reading this article, which I think is hilarious. I mean, there's so many contradictions in here. I can't stand it. It's like, first I just clicked on an article that says Ice Age shock. Timing is right for the next ice age to come around. Okay, it's like I thought we were in global warming. And then as you read down here, it says over millions of years, Earth goes through ice ages and then warming periods depending on the planet's rotation around the sun. Currently, it is in a warmer period, although it is important to note that it is exacerbated by global warming and not an explanation for the unnaturally warming planet. However, a climate scientist has said that we're geared up to go through another ice age. These ice ages lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. I love how hundreds of thousands of years, but just in the 70s, it was getting cooler. Now in the 2000s, it's getting warmer. All this stuff is just sped up in our little history. And he says, Professor James Rennick says that the planet should be going through a cooler period in due time. And then down here it says Ice Age shock. Timing is right for the next ice age to come around. All right. It says it right here too. The timing is right for the next ice age to come around. Further down here it says climate change could prevent the next global warming. I thought the ice age is coming.
Winter is coming.
That one's great. It's like an optimistic view on the ice age. Yes, global warming, you're dead. Here comes the ice age.
Oh, and I love this. For the past 2.5 million years, they've figured this all out, guys. I mean, science is beautiful. They can tell you what the temperature was 2.5 million years ago easily, and it's experienced regular ice ages related to slow changes in the Earth's orbit or axis of rotation.
They observed that
we're currently in one of the warm periods between ice ages, and the present interglacial should be ending about now. About now? What are you talking about? Oh boy! End of the world. Environmental crisis could trigger global collapse. I just can't take that. Once it's so funny when you're awake to all this stuff, and
it's the kind of stuff that gets people not only fired up, but also quite excited, afraid, and willing to have discussions with others who may not fall for it as well. The kind of polarization.
So not only do I have to go out and buy a mask for my pet now, but I should go out and buy a pet parka.
Yep. Or a pet swimsuit. Just depends on who you're talking to at the time. It could be either one. You don't know. So, I don't know. Hilarious stuff. Very funny. It's just too funny for me.
Did you see that KLM pilot that came out? The woman, the Dutch woman.
Yeah, I had the video open. So I'm sure, was there translations down there? Yeah, I guess so.
It's the same woman that talks with you guys on Globebuster?
I don't think so, but I just saw it and I brought it up just we could talk about it, but I'm not sure.
Oh, nice.
What her
if it's another one, nice. Because
no, I think it's a new one.
Oh, okay, perfect.
She said, I don't know. I think she says she has 25 years of experience flying airplanes, and she flew to Australia and everything. And there's a Glober that pops up at some point, and she says, I'm fed up with this Glober BS. And she calls the guy ball grabber or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't even watched
you should
it
watch
yet,
it. It's funny.
Yeah, and obviously it's in, what is it, in Dutch?
It's in Dutch, yeah. she's very confident about her explanation.
Nobody
nice.
nobody got her name though, which is probably better if she doesn't say her name. But trying to see if I can find. No, I don't see her name because I want to see if it is the same girl.
I mean, what was this like a seminar on something? I mean, why is she up there to begin with?
Yeah, there's no context on this as far as I know. Like, it seems to be some sort of classroom, and there's a bunch of people sitting around, and some of them are flat earthers. And she says she talks about Mullen and his work as well. She says you can find all the math that he has done, but it doesn't matter because she says, for me, the gyroscope is enough proof. How it works, the mechanical gyroscope, because she flew for 25. Here it is. Bob saying her name is Lydia Oversluit.
Oh, so it is.
Bob just made a comment.
So it is the same girl.
Oh, so it is the same girl. Okay, I was tripping in.
Yeah, Lydia, that's her.
Yeah, Lydia was the same. So yeah, she came on Globebusters and then got grounded. As far as I remember, they didn't let her fly anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what I remember.
Okay.
But
I thought it was somebody new. So no, it is somebody who. Yeah, he's saying we did interview her. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe
I talked
Bob,
to her once. She's a nice woman.
So I guess she's confronting people in Holland then.
Yeah,
Good.
it must be. I'll have to go back and find. Okay, here's one with the text on the bottom. So she's talking about the gyroscope and her horizon. And you said that a Glober asked a question or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, later on, the guy comes up and says, yeah, but the gyroscope should be correcting for gravity and stuff. And then she says, I'm fed up with this baller stuff. It calls him some name and continues. She says, these are the facts. And that's how it works and so on. And she talks about how in Holland, from one city to the other, you cannot see the curvature. And you go 40 kilometers, look back, you can still see the sea, which is exactly what I see here. I just come off my balcony, and I definitely see way beyond Maastricht, which is 6-7 kilometers away. I see way farther, but all directions.
Right here, she said, this is her moment of waking up, and she said, I just saw it. Why didn't I ever notice this after 25 years of flying?
Yeah.
And this just shows how indoctrinated we all are. It's just so annoying. It's really annoying to realize you watch that happening year after year without noticing anything special. And the moment I realized the Earth is flat, I started to wonder why I never noticed that before, just by simply looking out the window and just see how really flat it is. Yeah, this is awesome. Mind-blowing, I would say now, but okay. So when I land my plane in Australia, then suddenly the upper blue half of the virtual horizon would suddenly be on the bottom side. So now I have to land the plane in that blue part. That's not going to happen. And besides that, there are a lot of good examples of this on YouTube as well. Is this thing an analog device? Yes, the gyroscope is a mechanical device. It has bearings, so there's no question about that. So I'm sorry, but I cannot make more of it than this, and for me, this is enough proof. Besides that, if one is flying near the ground with a certain velocity and the atmosphere is allegedly moving along with the Earth, then the atmosphere should spin faster at a higher altitude and catch up with the Earth. I could probably speed this up and still read it. Let me go to 1.5. So at a higher level, the plane should move faster because it has to rotate along. Main issue here is that there should be a gradient, but it's just not there. There are videos on YouTube that show just exactly that. And it's known that the gyroscope continuously lifts itself up, and that is needed to keep it in the same orientation all the time.
That's the baller.
Oh, is that so? Well, that's all new to me. Look up pendulous vanes.
The guy says, sure.
Oh, okay. The correction is necessary. But that has nothing to do with the gravity, because that would mean that when I'm in a holding and I'm making a continuous turn, as soon as I start making a 60 degrees turn, there should be twice as much gravity. At least that's how it will be experienced. So when it would be true. Oops. Sorry, maybe I should have slowed it down. So when would it be true that the pendulous vanes would work on gravity, which they don't? Oh, this is somebody, I don't know if they're putting that in there. Then I would never be able to do a holding on an airfield, not particularly on gravity. Okay, but your ball, and I'm a little fed up with this after 3 years. What did she say? Okay, but your ball, and sorry, I'm just a little fed up with this after 3.5 years.
Yeah, he says sorry. She says sorry to say your ball, but I'm really fed up with this.
Oh, gotcha. Let's call them the globe sticklers. So that means you are all ball deniers? No, we only found out it's not true, and that's got nothing to do with the denial whatsoever. These are simply the facts. When I drive from Leistad to Enkhuizen, sorry.
Enkhuizen.
Which is a distance of approximately...
That's where Mike lives.
Oh, okay. I can still see the other side, but instead there should be 80 meters obscured by the curvature. There is no curve, so there is no ball. Ooh. It says, wouldn't it be impossible to land when the plane has an extra 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator? Oh, good. Somebody's asking
That's
good questions.
the flat earther in the audience.
Good. Yes, that's another thing. Go look for the videos by Brian Mullen. He is just a genius when it comes to all these calculations, which I wouldn't be able to do myself, but that doesn't matter too much because this is my own story. What was this at? Some sort of conference or something? It seems like there's a... Brian Mullen does a really great job explaining when leaving the ground with a certain velocity. And let's assume we start at the equator where the velocity would be 1,600 kilometers per hour. How do we get rid of that 1,600 kilometers per hour that is now in your plane? And let's say you would be heading for Sweden, for instance. Where goes that 1,600 kilometers per hour you started with? You're moving sideways now. Excuse me, Lydia, I would like to finish there in order to allow some more people to ask questions. I wonder
Looks
where
like
this
a
was
classroom.
at. Yeah. And then a thank you to all pilots who have spoken out. Yeah, definitely, especially the ones who have been grounded, who told you can't fly anymore, sorry. As if that has anything to do with their ability to fly a plane. You know? Oh, very interesting. So, yeah, anything else you got out of that, Rodrigo?
Yeah, and because I was in contact with another pilot beside the pilot that I mentioned before, and I invited to the conference because he started to receive him from the troll, trying to ruin his career, and they send like hundreds of emails to the company saying that guy is danger for the safety of the crew and the the rest of the people inside the plane, so he must be grounded, things like crazy things that man, come on. I mean, the guy came to the conference, give a simple speech, and it was a technician kind of speech because it's just based on the British flight manual. All that this guy talked in the conference was in terms of the mechanics of the gyroscope, mechanic gyroscope and Sagnac gyroscope, and what is said in the manual, how you are instructed and how you apply on the flight, and as at least in the way that he pilot the plane, you never take into consideration the rotation of the Earth, and supposedly you have to do that. So he doesn't talk about the flat Earth, the flat horizon, nothing like that, because of course he knew that it's gonna come this kind of. He wants to be safe in terms of if the media trying to talk with another pilot and trying to compare what he said with a regular pilot, not flat earth pilot, at least he wants to be covered in that part. I mean, because they talk they both talk the same thing. He talks all the time about geocentric model. He never said the flat earth model or the globe earth model. He never mentioned that, of course, because it was his strategy. But the troll people that really hate me, because this is a way to attack me. They started to send email, things like that. So I take that part of the of the conference because I want to. I trying to to not cause problems because I recommended to the pilot to cover his face with a cap or glasses, things like that. But he refused. He said, "No, I'm gonna, I cannot cover my face to give a conference." So I decided from my own to participate. So I gonna be, as usual. I am a normal people, but he never believes. He never believed that there is out there, so psychopath people.
Persecution.
Scary.
There's open games, like all flat earthers a game, right?
Exactly. So I take off that part of my conference, but I am in contact with another 2 pilots, and I ask them one of those.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, you took it out, but you have the information.
Yeah, of course. No, and the information is still in some trolls channels that I cannot complain via YouTube because the video was distorted in terms of the audio and the image. So the YouTube copyright claim is not take into consideration. But I blocked like 14 videos at the beginning in the first week, and then I talked with the pilot and trying to he calmed down. He understand this quote unquote game, which is not a game. We are talking about real life, real professions, real career, family behind any person that you saw. It's not just because in fact the guy came to the conference in the private mode because he never mentioned his company, he never mentions his name, he never mentions names from other pilots. So the guy paid the ticket and came to the conference and also participate, giving a lecture about 20 minutes. And you couldn't, I believe, in terms of legal terms, you cannot be grounded because you assist in your private life to a conference.
I wouldn't think so.
Exactly. But, the guy, it wasn't, he wasn't he started be afraid a little bit.
Well, all you would need to do is just ground one person. So like Lydia, if you have one pilot come out and start talking about it and you ground that pilot, then every other pilot that's out there, all of them depend on their flight. I mean, think how much money they spent on flight school, on flight training, and how that's their way of making money. That's the way of supporting their family. That's the way of raising their children. That's the way of supporting their wife. You think that more pilots are going to come out and talk about it? It's a very brave thing to do.
Exactly. So I stopped, talking with this pilot for a while because I want he calm down and things like that. But I am in contact with another 2, and one of those I asked him to make like a tiny experiment to put a gyroscope in front of the artificial horizon of the plane. A mechanical gyroscope. I'm talking about those gyroscope about $40, that you can buy in Amazon. And because, other pilots that are globeheads, here in Latin America that also participate in denouncing his own
colleague.
Yeah,
I guess.
colleague. So it's crazy.
Right.
So that guy is trying to say, no, because the gyroscope in the plane is based in another principles, it's not a mechanic, which is completely wrong because it's mechanic, or at least it's connected to mechanic part. But for me, it's very easy. If you buy a simply gyroscope and you put a battery, so you keep turning, and you put that gyroscope, not a level based on the bubble or things like that. No, a gyroscope, mechanic gyroscope, very simple. And you put in front of the artificial horizon that is in the cabin, in the instrumental part of the plane. And you start comparing. And of course, we know what's gonna happen. It's gonna, be in the same. It's going to behave in the same way. When the plane took off, it's going to have this little inclination. Then it's going to be completely level. And when the plane going down, it's going to have the declination. And then when reach the flight path, not flight path, sorry, the la pista,
the landing.
Yeah, it's going to be again level. So if you have that, and this is my simply experiment of observation. I mean, you have the mechanical gyroscope, which you can evaluate from outside and compare with the artificial horizon that supposedly it's working, taking into consideration the gravity and all the forces that spherical Earth produce. And you have that comparison, and it's done. For me, I mean, you have that direct observation, because everybody knows that the mechanic gyroscope is just a mechanic gyroscope.
Yeah, I get so.
I don't know if you explain, if you understand what I'm saying, but.
Yeah, no, I understood it. I just think it's such an easy proof, and I don't know why it. I guess they have to take it in every different direction, right? Because they can't just admit it for what it is. We saw that with the debate that Austin did. That it just seems like everything they have to take out of context, or they have to presuppose whatever they need in order to get their point across. And again, they have the entirety of science as their backup. I mean,
textbook bashing,
right?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing we talked about, right? With Neil deGrasse Tyson hilariously saying that he won't debate flat earthers when. I mean, what's easier? It's like, whose position would you rather be in? McToon's or Austin's, where one guy gets to just say science, science, science. We've proven this, we've proven that, and the other guy has to refute every single thing that they say. There's one position that's much, much easier, and it's of course the position that Neil Tyson is in, and he won't even take that position. He's like, I'm not doing it. I wonder why. Thank you much, Zayla Raiden, for the super chat. He says, I have some catching up to do. Haven't had a chance to listen to you guys in a while. God bless. Decided to open to my daughters about flat Earth. Yeah, that's good. I'm sure we've all opened to our family about it, and some take it in different ways, but it is what it is. Iru, is your mom, she's still flat, right?
My mom?
Yes.
Yeah. My family, they are obligated to be flat. I mean, all my city, the 95% of the city is flat. If not,
You're leaving. You're going to a new city.
Yeah.
Did you see that stupid shit with the broom this week? Standing the broom up? Anybody
What the heck was that?
What is this?
I don't know.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, I don't know. There was some post on, I don't know whether it was Twitter or Instagram or something, that said, NASA has said that if you stand up your broom today, one of those slanted brooms, it will stand up because of the fact that we're at the solstice or something. I don't know. But then, of course, everyone comes out and admits that you can stand up your broom on any day. It has nothing to do with gravity. But people were going crazy with it, of course. Something like that. One of those challenges. So there was all these videos on different social media showing brooms standing up. I'll see if I can find some article about it. But I don't know if you guys saw that or if that was only around here.
Brooms is a thing that you use to clean the floor. I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
You did see that, yeah. So here we go. Good. Whoops. Why is that not bringing up the correct?
I can do it today if I want to.
Yeah, you can do it any day. So it's just here. NASA explains why the viral standing broom trick is a hoax. It's just physics.
Maybe
NASA
LIGO
responds.
can detect the gravitational wave in charge of that.
Thank you, Ligo.
We have discovered, we spent $2.2 billion and we discovered the gravitational wave to hanging out a broom.
Yeah, so I guess they were using hashtag broom challenge. Yes, brooms can stand without any support. No, NASA didn't say it's just for one day. So, because everybody was saying, NASA says it's because of where the Earth is in its orbit. It's just, more propaganda out there. And NASA never said this, and brooms can be stood upright on any day of the year. But everybody was taking their broom, standing it up, taking a picture, and being like, oh, look, it's because of the solstice or something.
Yeah, it's a campaign to get people looking at NASA stuff, just to cause some fuss.
Right.
They would be doing, there's people who think those things up for a living.
Oh, even Paul Abdul got into it. Great, didn't see that. So mostly it was like brooms like this, a sideways slant broom.
Show me the cable of NASA, because it's the same thing, it's hanging on the cable.
Oh boy, yeah. So it took off for a little bit this week, but that's the kind of thing my sister texts me all the time. She's like, "What is going on with this? So stupid." But yeah, it is stupid indeed. Very funny. Did everybody watch the debate with Austin and McToon? I don't know if you guys got a chance to catch that.
I watched some of it.
It was superb.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And again,
Let's take a look some examples. Austin, do you remember some moments you'd like to share and talk about?
Yeah, I'd like to hear some.
Yeah, well, honestly, the whole thing was painful.
At least you admit it. I didn't want to say it.
Dude, I can't imagine even having to watch that as like a third party. You know?
Yeah.
Was it as bad as the Nathan Thompson one?
No, he kept his cool a little better than that. He's like a little bit better at wizardry. You know, he kept trying to like smoothly divert.
Mm-hmm.
But it
Away
just
from
wasn't.
the point.
Yeah, exactly. But at one point I said the necessary antecedent to gas pressure is physical containment. Can you provide one example that isn't the case? And he showed some video of this dude going to a higher altitude, and he was like, look, there's 0.26 or whatever pressure. I was like, what? There's what? There's still pressure? I was like, okay, so can you provide one example? You know, it was crazy, man.
I thought the best part was that he, conceded, or at least we see it as concession. I don't know what they think it is, but the whole edge of a sphere debate is hilarious. Now they're saying we don't see the horizon.
Yeah, dude, he said that the geometric horizon is never visible.
Yeah, I was there for that part. That was hilarious.
It's like, what? Did they not realize what they're saying? That's their whole model. That's the reason why things are blocked when you look across distances. They say that the horizon is physical. That's their point. So when they concede that and say, oh, no, we can't see the physical horizon, it's like, no, that's our argument. If you're on a ball Earth, that's what the horizon is. And the ball Earth, that's what the horizon is. That's why we can't see things in the distance, according to them, is that it's being blocked by an edge.
Somebody should make a compilation, if somebody hasn't done it already, of these global arguments and how they have shifted over time and stuff. Have anybody done that?
It would take some work, but I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's just they just have to waffle
It's kind of funny.
the whole time.
I mean, it's a study on creativity because, like people talk about moving the goalpost. That's one of the things that we know already. It's part of the culture that they backpedal in 100,000 ways. And that's kind of interesting because they also hide the ether in 100,000 ways. They have what Iru pointed to, which is the point, the points, these kind of abstract mathematical entities that don't actually exist. Where's the point? Lagrange point or whatever, right? Those kinds of things.
Right.
So that's part of the whole, double speak, because we are basically translating the double think that they operate with into plain language so people can understand what's going on in a way. It's kind of our work, I think. What do you think?
No, I agree. But I mean, what else are you going to do besides let these guys keep hanging themselves? And either people will see it or they won't. We're not trying to force it down anybody's throats. I just talk about it and point it out, and people can continue to, fall for the deception, or they can, unplug from the box, as Austin would say.
I'm gonna set with the song, and you need to guess. And if you guessed right, you're gonna receive what you want, Jaron, which is turn on my webcam. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Here you go.
It said I have to guess
there's
the song.
You need to guess the name of the song, of course.
I like games.
There's something wrong with the world today. I don't know what it is. Something wrong with our eyes. We're seeing things in different way, and God knows it ain't his. Sorry for my pronunciation. I sure ain't no surprise. We living on the edge. Do you know that song?
Aerosmith.
We're living on the edge of Aerosmith.
Ah, okay.
Song. Yeah, sorry guys. I don't have the voice of Karen B. I don't know how to read good English. I don't know how to pronounce.
You did fine.
good
Rodrigo
English.
got it.
I
Rodrigo
know.
got it.
And that was my objective because I don't want to turn on my webcam. So that is why I read it so bad. But yeah, we're living on the edge all the time with all these kind of topics. We see things in different ways, like you said before. Once you wake up to the flatter reality, of course, your not your eyes, but the way that you use your eyes is completely changed immediately. You start seeing things that you never maybe think about it. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, that's
when
what
you
the
have that
pilot
moment.
was saying as well. That she was
Right.
She couldn't figure out for 25 years. She didn't notice it. Incredible.
Well, that's what indoctrination does, right?
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's so funny to watch TV now and see the constant how there has to be a globe in every scene.
It's incredible. How
It's
many
incredible.
globes
It's
there are.
everywhere. And yet
That's
nobody
what
ever
I
uses
thought when
them.
I first. Didn't you think that, Rodrigo? I was like, I fell for that my own entire life. I was like, how did I not see that? How did I not see it?
It's right there, and you
so
like it.
obvious.
You
Did
kind
you
of like
guys-
it. You're like, wow, it's the world or something, right? This is a worldwide company, or this is universal for everyone.
I don't know about you guys, but I remember, and people can either believe me or not. I know it's true, but I remember walking outside numerous times in my life, or at different points. I don't remember if I was on a plane. I don't remember these points. I just remember thinking to myself, like, wait, couldn't the world be flat? And then quickly you kind of slap yourself and say, of course not.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous, It's like I tell the story about that guy who emailed me who said, it was 10 or 15 years ago he was flying on a plane, and he's looking out the window and he's thinking to himself, God, why does the world look flat? Why does this look flat? And he turned to the guy next to him and said, hey, have you ever thought whether or not the earth could be flat? And the guy says, yeah, if you're a fucking idiot. And then he's like, he said for the next 10 years, he wouldn't dare even think about it because of what that person next to him on a plane said. But it's so
Dude,
true.
that's what I think is so disgusting about this, like what McToon does, because there was people watching that, and they're suffering from a lifetime of indoctrination, and so their instinctual response is to cling on to whatever that dude will give them that can keep them in this little bubble. You know what I'm saying? And he knows damn well what he was doing, bro. It's just like it makes me mad.
No, it's like you called it, I think, I don't remember if it was on your show yesterday or something, but you're calling it wizardry. It's exactly what he was doing. And it's this whole thing where you just ad hom basically all the way home, and you're fine. As long as you're in the position of, I've got science as my backing, everything I say is scientific, and here's my peer-reviewed papers, and as long as I call the other side idiots, then you are set. What else do you really need to do?
Right.
Yeah, wizardry where it's like inversion. He was self-projecting everything he was doing. He said, if you double down in the face of contradictory evidence, that's what you're doing right now.
Right.
It's like that's what wizardry is. It's to say the exact opposite of what it is, and that's all he was doing. I don't have any patience for that, man.
Or like
and how they
telling you-
avoid the question so many times. It's a typical kind of strategy. We ask the question, say, it's like Nathan did that so many times with Jaron. Many people, it happens, and they simply start talking about something else, which is what politicians do.
Right. Or like at one point, didn't he say that, something he was looking through and there was a refractive index of 2?
Yeah, coefficient of 2 or more.
Like what?
Infinite refraction.
Oh, boy. And this gets back to the seeing your own ass with a telescope. I mean, if that's true, refractive index of 2. And that's the thing. They'll just take 7.6R, whatever it takes to extend out to the point that our observations can see. And we know, anybody knows you can't see forever. It has nothing to do with being on a sphere. It has everything to do with the atmosphere you're looking through.
By the way, that was a great presentation of Life is Short. I was watching it today.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys if you enjoyed that. If people missed that, that was another concept for vision, bottom first disappearance across flat surfaces with Life is Short. We did that yesterday in my second stream. I thought he did great, man. That's such good information.
Yeah. As always, like the other one is very interesting. Yeah, I got the idea to do corridor experiment because of that, because I watched that and then I put it in the computer and I did the same kind of measurements that he was doing. I put the camera in different positions, heights, and I found a long corridor that had like checkerboard sort of tiles in the floor all the way to the end.
Right.
So it's good, really nice for that kind of exactly what he was doing, because he was measuring the different parts and explaining how everything is becoming compressed, of course, in that space that you cannot see depending on the angle. And so, yeah, you take a few observations, you find a corridor, and you can do that, and you can study perspective. You can even work on your drawing and whatnot. It's very, very interesting. One of the things I think is quite some people don't notice or don't talk about so much as we were talking about, that the kind of how the sideways things get compressed as well,
well, that was great when he talked about the walls, right? The walls of the corridor kind of expanding out, and really taking your observations from the hallway to outside and realizing that they don't change. Mm-hmm. The way your eyes work don't change. People look down a hallway and think that that's much different than the way that we see when we're looking across the ocean. And it's not.
Right. It's not.
It's the same.
So not at all. And also that other demonstration he had, which was kind of a computer-generated thing, but it was like red and blue.
Right.
What is interesting about that is that it became purple, right? When especially the compression zones. And that's really very good illustration what he's talking about here.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was really good, and if people didn't get a chance to check it out, I definitely recommend it, suggest it. There's so many good things, good points that he makes in there, and then what'd you think about his little video where just across the 400 feet with a 2.5-inch light on the other side, I mean, he's able to make it disappear bottom up, and that's exactly what we've been saying the whole time.
Right? Yeah, even very, very short distances.
Yeah, so
for
short.
me, I thought that I understood perspective, but after that presentation, he does such a good deep dive. But not only looking at it from the micro perspective, but then how that translates to the macro perspective.
Right.
Like the things that we observe on a small level, we can just look out there and see. And
Very
like what you were talking about before, when the walls go away, then that's what we see as far as looking out over the ocean.
Right.
It was very, very good presentation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then he also has a nice video in his channel that trying to talk about his way of understanding why we see in perspective. Because after all, that is really something that is like a splinter in my mind, because why we see in perspective. It's and he has this video talking about the interference pattern caused by electromagnetic fields and magnetic field lines and things like that. Of course, he presented as just like a rough concept, because after all, we don't have, or at least that is my opinion, that we don't have any kind of equipment or device to see without perspective. We cannot see an orthographic view. We just can project that and draw in concept ways. Mm-hmm. But why we see in perspective mode? Yeah, that's turns me crazy, man. I mean,
it drives me crazy.
I always
too.
think about it.
But isn't it because of stereoscopic? Isn't that because of the stereoscopic vision? What they call
that? Because if you cover one eye with the eye that left, it's also see in perspective. And of course, it's based on the shape and how the light enter and come into your eyes and things like that. We are not, we cannot communicate or use other lenses from, from a bird or from a fly or a dog or whatever. So it's very something that, for me at least, is a really nice topic. Trying to maybe produce an object that can see the world in orthographic view without perspective. Not making zoom or collapse the image because you are zooming so strong that you just create this sensation of orthographic view, because everything is like split, not split. Sorry, like mash up, stick. Without depth. Without depth. No, I am not talking about depth. I'm talking about these things.
2D. It's like almost like 2D is what you're talking about.
Yes, something like that. It's,
but I think
he had that video that is really interesting.
What you can try. Remember that video that you show from the Chinese rocket that is actually, that you show that from the perspective from the observer. It seems like it's going down, but it's actually going away. You know that one?
Yeah. From this private company.
Yeah, so what I think you could do, like from what you're saying, what you can do is have different drones in different positions, getting different angles from something, and then you can kind of, simulate, but you're never going to, get rid of that.
No, you're never going to experience from yourself. I mean,
No.
that is something that is a,
Only transhumanists.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. No, but no, it's a very, maybe we just skip that part, but why we see in perspective, with perspective and this kind of vanishing point and things like that, we accept it like a given, something like, okay, it's like that. But for me, it's really interesting. After all, they're trying to use nanotechnology to create these super lenses without distortion and super rectilinear lenses, but nobody ever reached that yet. So,
right.
So, Jaron, what you have on the screen right now,
Mm-hmm.
when McToon brought up those beer goggle theodolite, shot, and then on your show, you showed how the apparent horizon could be different because of the mirroring effect.
Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, this week has been all those puzzle pieces have fit a little tighter together. So when McToon brings up this, actually it's a red herring, showing that the theodolite. Oh, look, the horizon is actually above. What we see, the horizon's falling away from us. But then when you compare that with a shot like this of the speedboat going across, and I could see how that could mirror the sky and how the horizon out looking over the ocean with the theodolite is actually higher than what it shows. Of course.
Yeah, Austin, does that make sense? Because I was, thinking about when he was showing, exactly what Wendell was just saying. When they show the theodolite view and they say, oh, well, look at the horizon is lower than this level point or the eye line of the horizon. But here, if we look at this, I mean, this boat is clearly, we know that it's on water, which means this all right here is water. But if we picture, instead of having land behind here, if you were just looking across a vast distance of ocean, that the sky would be mirroring in this part of the water. So whenever you say, oh, well, the horizon's actually lower, well, yeah, here the horizon is lower too. But that doesn't mean that this boat is floating in air. We know that the boat is on water.
Yeah,
Right.
I think one potential way of getting around this, Jan, I don't know, I never thought about it, just had the idea now, is that, of course, this is optical, but what if you had like a temperature kind of camera? Wouldn't that show together with this? Because this is getting the optical reflection that the water, of course, it's obvious that the horizon is beyond the boat even, right? But what we're getting here is all
nice
that
idea.
mirroring.
Yeah, it's a nice idea.
But with the temperature camera, maybe you can see, don't you think, perhaps you could, you don't have to see the optical side, which is another view.
So you're saying with the thermal camera, this would match this and not this.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
That would be also excellent idea, and also reminds me that a few times ago I follow a channel it's called an amorphous image, something like that. I'm going to paste the YouTube channel right away. But he are looking. It's like a sky searcher, like these guys that all the time are looking up into the sky with binoculars and telescopes. No storm, but
sky watcher kind of guy.
Yeah, sky watcher for he trying to for UFOs, right? Okay. So, but these guys has a lot of video that they believe there are UFOs, but instead are balloons hanging with satellites. So they think there are UFOs, but the nice thing is that guy buy like a radar, for aiming the global the satellite balloon or the plane or things like that. And of course he has this information on the screen. And I always think in terms of, we know that it's very far away, but what happens if you aim the sky with this kind of radar with the ISS is passing over the sky?
Interesting.
That kind of things that maybe you think it's for your own in the longness, part of the day. But when I saw that, I'm going to share the screen.
It's a kind of thing that maybe
Oh,
I'm gonna share the link.
That's the kind of thing, that maybe even if you core someday may be able to perform that kind of, get that kind of equipment. I wonder how much it costs, like a radar. How did this guy?
Well, this
guy
radar
is a
was not
UFO
so
guy.
much expensive, around $1,000, but no hundred of thousands. But maybe it's not has a lot of power to detect that kind of things, or but maybe you can. I mean, what I'm trying to say is maybe with some kind of that. Equipment like that, maybe you can detect the object that is faking the ISS, because maybe you point into the sky and you don't receive any signal, but maybe you receive a signal for 20 kilometers up, and maybe you can start to think about, maybe there could be a drone or a plane, or because after all, when I aim the ISS crossing over my head, is detecting something and give me that position or that distance and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the other thing is that the same radar that you're talking about can be used for that problem that people have been talking about, which is trying to know the distance between the observer and the objects that they're observing, you say, near the ocean. If you have a portable radar and you can establish the distance between you and these boats that you can see going off the harbor or whatever, then you got a bunch of really good data there.
Well, just think about how crazy what he was doing was. He showed that image when I said, can you prove or substantiate curvature? He showed that image, and then basically he's claiming that's the geometric horizon, and then in the same debate, he's saying you never see the geometric horizon.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
It's
my
just, I don't even realize that if they know what they're saying, but you're right. Everybody listening from his side will just agree with whatever he says. Doesn't matter.
Dude, that's why I call it wizardry, bro,
Right.
because it's like blatantly lying.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people just there, it's what you said, Jaron, before, like in Austin, it's what they want to hang on to something. And no matter what, you throw 100 things at them, they don't answer any of them, but then they hang on to whatever they have. And they just keep on jumping the hoops or whatever, their own hoops. That's what's funny. That's why I talk about this kind of headless chicken bouncing against the wall, which is kind of what it is when you watch it from the outside, which is kind of disturbing, but it's you got to keep on going.
And just
it's like the Gandhi quote about the stages of denial, right? That Shelley brought up in her presentation.
Right.
It's first they laugh at you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then you win. So when they're fighting back hard that they're just really close. You were talking about before about what was it that we finally started to consider to get over our fear of actually considering the fact that it might be flat, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's different for different people. I was talking to my son last night. He's fresh out of college. He's into his new job, and he knows that I'm working on a documentary, Behind What Curve, and yet he's still in denial. And it's hard. But at one point, when they start fighting you, you know that you're really close. They're really close to flipping over.
Yeah, my brother's the same. And the problem is that the flat Earth groups that my mom has on her phone, just try the ones from the conference, they're so overtaken with religious stuff. It's not even about flat Earth anymore. It's just about different scriptures. That my brother, when he picks up, he's like, "Are you kidding?" He looks at my mom and says, "Are you kidding?" That because it's weird, and so that's this problem. But it's because I haven't talked to him in person. In my case, it's been like this. When I talk to people in person, the doubts kind of go away, and they realize it's not such a big deal that you have to lose your temper over. But it can be tough, like as we saw with Ben. He's been having a horrible time with his family persecuting him, trying to take his children away.
Right.
So
shame is such a powerful force. The embarrassment. And I remember when we were out interviewing Jay Tolan, my son's there in the background, and I'm taking behind the scenes footage. He's there covering his face because he just doesn't want to be associated with it, right? So
dude, that's the biggest part, bro. Everyone doesn't want to be made fun of, man. It's like that's what it is. They're afraid of societal ostracism, and so they're just looking to anything to cling on to, so they don't have to be that crazy flat earther that everyone makes fun of.
Right, it really shows the kind of person that you are inside. If you just shell up and say, "Oh no, I'll just follow these guys that claim science and claim curvature," and they just can sit there and they'll never be made fun of, and they can just hold on to that. And the alternative to that, to actually go out on your own and make some statements and actually say what you really think and what you really believe, is so scary to some people, but it's really liberating. And just to point out real quick before I forget that this is Sky Free, the channel I've been showing some of his observations of these little mini boats over these close distances and, understanding sunsets over horizontal surfaces. So I'm going to put his link in the description as well as the link to the video we were just showing, just so you know. So Sky Free, check him out. He only has 345 subscribers. Give him some love if you like to check out some observations and think about things in a logical way. So,
I want to do my first screen share.
Woohoo! Okay, you're up.
No, because I found the channel. And I want to share with everybody out there and give some love, like you said before. This guy is not a flat earther. This guy, I believe, is a really high UFO guy. So I assume that he's a heliocentric.
Whoa. I got a weird echo. It's okay.
Yeah, but no, that is because I am sharing my own screen, so maybe Sharon can take care about that.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, thank you. But I've been following this guy since trying to understand, not trying to understand, but trying to find evidence about the satellite balloons up in the sky like 3-4 years ago. And he has a lot of, this kind of, they call, for example, no tumbling balloon-like object, blah, 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 blah. And of course, this is really in good focus. I don't know how the distance is. If it's something that is, for me, this particular video is related with some kind of telecommunication or some kind of technological equipment hanging on a balloon, like Google Loons and that kind of stuff. Of course, when you start going and start to scroll down the videos that this guy has, you're gonna find this. For example, maybe this is a balloon with a satellite that is falling down, and that is the kind of thing that then you see in the news. But maybe this is just falling down in open space, open area, and nobody cares. Maybe this is just a balloon from a, party from a guy who just, his birthday, and they, whatever. I don't think that, because this is a really big balloons. Mm-hmm. But you can start scrolling down and see how many also really weird composition in terms of the color, the shapes, the balloons. Maybe you can say, well, this is, for example, like a bunch of balloons with, like party balloons, like all together, floating in the sky without any connection with technology equipment, nothing like that. It's like a cluster of balloons. But if you take the time and go one by one, you can find things that are really interested. But the thing is that this guy, in a few months ago, he buy this radar. And maybe this is like a boat radar from, that kind of cheap, quote unquote, cheap kind of radar. But what I like to present is just the idea, not the equipment itself. Maybe this equipment is not enough. Maybe it's not for the purpose of detecting, for example, the ISS or whatever. But the idea for me was like, look at that. That guy take this. I am not a technician, so I don't know which model is the brand, like for Uno. I don't know if this is for boats or whatever. But the guy was tilting.
It looks like a boat. It looks like a boat. One that I see.
It looks like a boat, but he take this connection. He aimed to the sky, and he connected with via software, and he started to receive, of course, and pick up signals and transfer that into a visual range, and you have this kind of he presented, he explained what are the circles, how you detect a plane. For example, he detect planes, he detect these balloons up in the sky. I don't know how the software works in combination with the equipment itself to give you the distance, the correct distance, and blah, 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 right? But like I said before, it's a nice idea, at least. Or could be a nice idea because maybe there are people out there that have access to this kind of equipment. Maybe you can rent for one day or something like that, and
did I miss, did he say how high up it will observe?
He said, for example, here he talks about 2 kilometers, but I don't know
up
because
or away from you. I guess in all directions.
Yeah, I'm not so sure this thing is 3D, right? I think this thing is just getting the range from the distance from the equipment on a plane. So I'm not sure it gets the altitude for things. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, that's what
maybe not.
But I don't know.
Not.
I don't know how it works. I certainly not an authority on
yeah,
this.
I believe there must be out there some equipment that give you the distance, because after all, it's just a signal that bounce and go and came. It's the same kind of principle that the boat. This is, for example, a 7 kilometer distance heading 22 degrees right. So you have the distance. You have
right. So you have a angle, and then you have a distance. So that's really good. Then
that's really good. I mean.
Yeah, if you get this in the field when you're doing observations as well, you can tell those distances that people were being, that the black swan thing, like it was, that the idea that the distances, that really helps. With something like this, the distances all the time, which is amazing.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, exactly, could be. I mean, when I saw this, and you remind me when you said about that that idea for the thermal camera. Thermal heat camera, which is a really nice idea. I remember this because I downloaded this when I was in Europe and think I wanted to share with the Globebuster team and, maybe present it as an idea and, could work. Maybe you need to improve the equipment and get a better equipment with more range in terms of the distance that you can detect.
What is the distance here that it can detect? Is this maximum?
He detects something. No, the maximum I don't know. He detects something about at the distance of 7 kilometers.
Right.
But this is a radar based in echo. You just drop a signal, bounce, and come back and tell you what was based on the speed and and
that's
the velocity
realm,
that is a standard signal bounce equipment.
That's why we need Bob for that kind of technical stuff, because that's his area.
Yeah, of course. But anyone out there that maybe has access or has the knowledge to interpret these kind of things and maybe give a little more in-depth opinion that if it's worth it, maybe buy one, rent one, or use one from another guy that maybe has a boat or whatever.
Yeah,
it could be interesting for many things. Like I said before, from the ISS, but maybe like you said before, for reaching the distance of the boat or things like that.
For the ISS as well, because you're saying that you can get the heading there, like you were saying, like what the angle is. So then you have, and how high does do people think that the ISS is, or whatever is simulating it's flying?
Well,
no, I don't.
This works perfectly with my plan to get the space gun to shoot some of these satelloons down.
Yeah, man.
All I need.
Look at that time. Yeah, that target, could be fun. Yeah, could be fun. But well, that was my screen share. I'm gonna stop and paste this link from this channel in the chat, so maybe someone out there want to make a deep investigation.
Oh, what a good idea, though. There's the premise here. If you could catch the ISS and then adequately determine the distance, that would prove they're lying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I hope that. Maybe it's
But I
detecting
think that-
400 kilometers. Well, but still could be in some way of electromagnetic field, right?
But I think it has been proven because it doesn't cross the horizon in the speed it's supposed to be crossing. So that's a problem. And then I think it was you, Iru, or Jaren that was showing like the trails that the observations make. Like I think it was Jaren. I don't remember. Was it you, Jaren? That how, or Bob, when you're following the actual path of the ISS, the only viewable from particular sections that they post on their website. These kind of red zones.
You can kind of follow it, and then it falls off. That's what you're talking about. Yeah, that was me. I think if you're talking about the ISS transit site, how you can bring it up, and then you can kind of follow along the view path, but then a view path runs out, and it gets extremely wide. Which I think is incredible. The more north or south you go, I've tried showing that before. It's better to show. I think some of the problems I have with it happen more during the summer than they do during the winter, which I think has to do with the path it takes. And got a couple super chats. JQ says the flat Earth debate is the best place to watch the ballers shift their arguments and deny their previous positions. Yeah, it happens all the time. Flat Earth debates was the reason that they're now denying the geometric horizon. Kumbaya to all. And then he said that's what they call looming on the screen. I think he's talking about when we saw the boat, rise up. If I don't know if that's what he was talking about, but I'm pretty sure that's where he was talking about that. And of course, that's what they call looming, even though we know that boat is sitting on the water. Why even consider send a super chat? He says you guys are rocking it like always. Hey Jaren, does the Himawari 8 debunk video of yours still exist? I'm having a hard time locating it. I have a few on my channel, but I think the one you might be talking about is Paul on the Plane. I think Paul on the Plane did a great job of showing where they get the images from and how they wrap them on a ball. Anybody remember, is that Paul on the Plane's video, Karen? Do you remember?
Yeah, he does have that, and the Faking Space series, and it's the Discover as well, right, Karen?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Paul on the Plane for sure.
Yeah, and then Hendrik Alerts, thank you very much. He always is a good supporter of the show and of Globebusters, so thank you, Hendrik. Appreciate that. And so, yeah, anyway, back to what we were talking about. Just had to interrupt for that. But, it certainly seems like these guys always backtrack, and, and we just keep coming with the same arguments and showing observation after observation. There's not a lot of backtracking on the flat Earth side because there's no need to when you go out and you say, here, this is what I observe, and people go, yep, that's what you observe. It's like,
yeah, that's right. It's so funny because of that, right? I think that maybe that's the simplicity of it, which is the scientific, how everything, the confirmations happen so many times, so many hundreds of confirmations, and then they are having to kind of do all this acrobatics and jumping around and whatever you call it, which is what we've been watching. That's why we know that they're just kind of going through the motions. I think it's kind of like a disease in a way that how are you going to fight it? Fight the obvious. It's not just an argument that somebody. Yeah, it's not the kind of subjective thing, right? That you like, you like strawberries, I like banana,
Well, this is the sorry. I'm not sharing my screen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say like they're globe zombies. That's like a perfect analogy. Like they don't even know what they're doing. It's like we were talking about the other time I was on here where like your family member will be the sweetest person ever, but just get so mad when you talk about the flat Earth. It's just like the zombies movies where your family got bit and now you can tell that's your wife, but she's a globe zombie,
Right. I just have this picture on the screen. I don't want to show the video because the video is not mine and I don't want to get any copyright. But, the question in this video is this boat floating in midair? No, but here's why it looks that way. What people need to recognize is that the water continues on. So again, when you have a theodolite and we say that the horizon line is here or here, and they say, oh, well, look at how much the horizon dips, and therefore we live on a sphere. When that's not the case here. This boat is not floating. It's not looming. It's sitting on the water, and we're just getting a mirage of the ground or the sky behind it. And actually, usually in this view, sometimes you'll get a reflection even, but there's no reflection in this particular image. But I don't know if you guys have seen lots of pictures like that.
Yeah. And the same thing happened when you are in sideways, not only like in the horizon, like 180 degrees, also at 90 degrees, also happen. That kind of thing.
Dude, we've all heard for years that the boats disappear bottom up because it's going over the curve of the Earth, and now in 2020 we're at the point where they're openly admitting that you never see the horizon.
That is make me think how stupid we are. We take 2,000 years and 20 to
and they just
discover
now
that was not the case.
No, and how do they reconcile, for instance, the question of the atmosphere and the myth of re-entry, right? How can the atmosphere suddenly be extended to beyond the moon and still they have the re-entry, right? How can they, they twist things? They say they can say exactly the opposite at the same time, and it works for them. It's a trick with the submarine and the ISS. Underwater is what space is. But people somehow cannot draw the connections, and it's what they see. They see these spacewalks, and you can clearly tell it's water, right? But then it's somehow the vacuum. It's just so odd how that it's possible. That's the subjective part. That's what's possible, to hide reality. How they do these magic tricks so often, and then we've caught them so many times that we'd be immune. That is the only vaccine that works.
Well, even using McToon's own logic, we would see the horizon sometimes because of refraction, but he won't even go there to admit that.
No.
Yeah. And they're just focusing on one set of things, which is just looking at one object going away. They're not talking about, what we talked about, I think last time with Bob. You have two distant islands in Hawaii, and they're over, 100 kilometers apart, and you see them both. So, where's the drop there that you should be seeing between them? That's the kind of sideways compression I was talking about. I don't know, what would you call it? I guess horizontal instead of vertical, right? That's, allowing you to see over 100 kilometers distance from one island to the other. But what you see between it's perfectly flat, and that's over right there, right?
I'm trying to see if they have, what is their reason? Do they ever explain? Oh, I'm not showing anybody. Let's go here. So I'm just looking at some images, and they call it an optical illusion. But do they recognize that? And actually, you can actually see probably the horizon line sitting here, can't you?
Yeah.
But
if you zoom in, you probably see the horizon beyond the boat as well.
At first glance, it appears that the world first has been captured, a flying ship. It says closer inspection confirms, however, in fact, it is a stunning optical illusion that gives the impression of a hovering vessel. In a rare state of conditions, the sea in the foreground of the picture is choppy with waves. Okay. While further back, the sea where the ship is anchored to the water is calm and mere flat. So at least it does say that the ship is anchored to the water. So this is a choppy sea, and then they're saying back here it's more calm. I'm not sure if I've ever heard that reason for it, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? So at least they're not saying that it's a mirage. I mean, they call it an optical illusion, but they're just not explaining that there's more horizon behind the horizon. I can't imagine why they wouldn't tell you that.
I think they just always have to come up with nonsense because we just have a logical explanation, and they have to do constant backflips. And this week is only confirmed for me. I've gotten attacked by a ton of gamma males ever since the McToon debacle. So I'm just like, let the dead bury the dead, bro.
That's all you can do, right? Okay, here's another one. So this is great, and you can see clearly.
And you can clearly see the water there.
Wow, this is a really good one.
Yeah, it's great. And for me, it's not even there. It's kind of like what Bob was saying as well, like on Jay Tolan's, the clouds up in the sky. Look at these clouds. I mean, they're sideways. They're so far back as well.
Right.
They're not
see
tilting.
The water behind the ship too.
Yeah, and this is where, it would be great if we knew the distance to this, thing. But again, it's so hilarious when McToon will just take an image that has no boat here, and he'll claim that the horizon line is dropped as per the theodolite.
Right.
But it's hilarious because there's clearly here, this is evidence that what he's saying is complete nonsense.
But I mean, it should only be dropping when you go up in their model, right? Not in the ground, on the ground. Right?
No, yeah.
This is even a rare occurrence. The only reason that you know that it's there is because the boat's there. If the boat wasn't there, it would just look, quote unquote, normal.
Absolutely.
But this
you'd be
happens
looking
all
out
the
at the
time.
water. You'd be looking out at the ocean, and you would see this line here, and that would be your assumption, is that that's where, the boat, finishes. But that one's a little different. I mean, that one we see all the time. But the actual, what looks like a floating boat, this might be a good one. I don't know if that's a real image. Oh, now see, this is ridiculous. They call this a Fata Morgana mirage. That's not what it is. That's where they're making shit up. See, it says Fata Morgana mirage makes these tankers seem to float in midair. Fata Morgana is completely different than this. Fata Morgana flips images. It's nothing close to this. So this is the one everyone sees.
Yeah, I mean, and these things are never static, right, Jaron? Like it's over time, they can go up and down and distort.
Oh, of course, they'll change completely. Yeah, it's just an illusion. I mean, here you can actually see the water line behind this boat.
Yeah.
See it?
Yeah, if you bring up the contrast, it totally would do that very more easily, even.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So, but that's not a Fata Morgana, and they can call it whatever they want. But again, it's just here. You can actually see the reflection of these clouds in the water here. See that?
Yeah.
And so this is just more water. So again, for them to say that the horizon dips, in my opinion, is just they're out of their minds.
And that's crazy because you're seeing the very front of the face of the boat all the way to where it touches the water. So how is that even possible?
Now this is a Fata Morgana. This is the correct assumption. That's the correct use of that word. It's a mirage, and the image is flipped. Everything is flipped up.
Fata Morgana is a word that came from the Italian language, and it means, help me, Rodrigo, to translate, but it means Hada Madrina. Yeah, like a fairy tale, fairy mother. I don't know.
Because there's some story about people used to see these ships out in the water, far away, and think that there was some sort of,
Narnia world. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a Fata Morgana, and then they just take that and they call these other images like we just saw. This is not a Fata Morgana. It just doesn't even make sense. There's where's the flipped image? Where's the mirage? There isn't one. It's just, this is just water, and this is kind of the edge of how far you can see. And if you watch, the show that we did with Life is Short yesterday,
the
you'll see
observable reality. Remember, Jaron, that he has some videos that show the boat going away and merging and then going up in this kind of apparently going up in the air, but also dividing it and being, becoming something else. You know what I'm talking about as well?
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Nobody has a clue.
Even you, Rodrigo.
Oh, I love it. Here's some debunked Fata Morgana hovering boat. Oh, Metabunk. I can't stand that site. Can you imagine how easy it would be just to
that guy.
Metabunk? Oh God, that guy. It's so easy.
He needs too much love, man. He needs love. He needs love.
And I'm starting to see more people talk about this. And I was going to do a video a while back, and I just stopped, but because I'm not even sure the whole stupid Titanic story is real at all. But a lot of people think that one of the reasons that the Titanic might have sunk is because the Californians saw it but didn't recognize that it was the thing, because the Earth is flat. Because they were seeing it and they said, wait, we're not supposed to see it because it should be well behind any curve, and it was just sitting there on the horizon. Now, of course, they'll describe it here as, the iceberg is obscured by this mirage layer, but it didn't even need to be that. Here they're showing it like this.
For me, the Titanic is more related with the bankers and
right, exactly.
That's it's the same thing on the 9/11. I mean, the JP Morgan, the guy who built it, they don't take the boat.
Yeah, they don't get on
that night. I mean,
no, we're not getting on. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the main funders for the Wardenclyffe Tower that Tesla was building for energy was on the Titanic, and then he died, and then JP Morgan pulled the rest of the funding.
Yeah, that's
JP Morgan founded Einstein.
Right.
And he was following the script from a novel.
Wahlberg.
Right.
Yep.
Identical to the Titan novel. Yeah. So
exactly like the novel. Like in
and there were
same place.
six bankers opposed to the Federal Reserve, and that's the same year the Federal Reserve began.
Wow.
So yeah. Anyway, this is a Fata Morgana.
Let me paste in the comment sections to share 2 videos based on the idea of Rodrigo. I paste 2 links for thermal cameras with long distances. Of course, the company is not a flat Earth company, but they show this idea that maybe could be work. For me, it was a nice idea, Rodrigo.
But do you know what I'm talking about? Observable reality, the channel. You know what I'm saying?
That was another thing. I just I know. After you said like, hey, we can use thermal cameras.
No, I know.
The horizon. The other thing nobody knows what you're talking.
No, because you said, well, nobody knows what you're talking about, Rod. I'm not like, I'm talking about the observable reality channel, you know, right? What I'm talking about.
I know that.
Okay. You're joking.
I follow.
All right. Because yeah, these kinds of things, instead of, of course, here you're seeing this static, one photograph. But, what he's been showing, kind of similar to what Life is Short is doing and other channels like the Sky, what was the name? Free Sky. Was
Sky
doing
Free
as well. So channels are dedicated to just observations, and that you see lots of these things actually happening as they unfold instead of just the photograph, right? As well, which is interesting. But both things are interesting. But some people might not know that it's not just there's a condition. And that condition remains the whole day. The whole thing is shifting all the time. So you might not see one thing in one moment, and it's kind of. I used to work all the time at the beach, looking at the horizon, and I started, just seeing every day. I would see a different kind of horizon, more fuzzy or much crisper, and when you can see really far away boats that when we zoomed in, they were perfectly flat. So. And then we lack that kind of thing, where the kind of observation, like there's some really good one, I guess the Skunk Bay one,
of course,
but we need more of that, the long observation time lapse.
Yeah, and I'm showing here now just the video that was done by Grotto 1. I'm sure everybody's seen it. I think we talked about it on
yeah,
and I get confused of what I talk about on Raw, or whether I talked about it on here, or whether I talked about it on my other show, or whether I talked about it on Globebusters. But I think we talked about the Grotto 1 observation, didn't we?
Yeah, it's excellent, though. So it's
another
one.
Another
and he's done many others, no? Before?
He did the same lake test a while back, and again, everybody argued, oh, the laser isn't flat. But, I like these better than I like the laser tests. I like these ones. Picking up the light like that from a distance. And by the way, thank you to Kevin Sonnen for the super chat. He says, keep crushing, and Mark W. Thank you, guys.
It's cool as well because it's very rare. You need to be in the north to have a lake that gets frozen like this, so you can drive a truck on top and not fall in it.
I'd be scared to do it, period.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go. There's stories from when the Russians attacked the Finnish in Second World War, that it was such a massacre because the Russians would go with their battalions on top of a lake, and the Finnish knew that they were on top of a lake, so they just hit the lake and the whole battalion of thousands of men would fall in the water. And it's terrible. But now here you see this, but also it's even it's frozen, so it helps with the conditions in the air and with the optics. And also, it makes it really, really flat because it froze flat. So it's kind of extra, safeguards for your observation. And the water's not moving at all. So, and there you have all the lights right there.
Yep, clear as day. And yet, what's their answer for this one, you think, Austin?
Yeah, I was supposed to say, you can't say refraction.
So what do they say? I mean, you just have to ignore it, whistle by it, right?
Yeah, I was going to actually play this from Ben's channel, but I didn't even get to it because I didn't want to let him move on, but I don't know what he would have said here. He would have made up some nonsense wizardry, I'm sure.
Well, again, if they don't even believe now that the horizon that we see is the real horizon, then they can just say anything. This is what Wendell knows quite well with these guys from IIG that, came out and told me it didn't matter how far we see. Doesn't matter if you see 50 miles. Doesn't matter if you see 500 miles. That the object that you're seeing is traveling along the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah, and if it also your observations, Jaron, with the plumes, that's 28 miles or something.
Yeah, 28 miles is huge.
That's really far away. And Wendell, you've done how many so far?
Well, I think 35.9 miles out on the Salt Flats. So it's overland, McWest, overland.
Oh, boy.
What's interesting here is if you go into, he has like a 6-part series, and what I liked is that he actually shows him driving between setting up each light and speeds that up, so you get a real sense of the distance between these lights. And initially I thought, if there was a bulge, you would see these lights at a different height. But after watching Travis's perspective video, I think that because they're so far away, they would still all flatten out. You wouldn't be able to tell if they were at different heights or not.
No, and they're all at the same height, right?
Yeah, and what's nuts is that they're almost like, if you think about what Travis is saying, they're almost beyond that compression zone that they should be becoming visible, right? I guess they are, but then you can zoom in, and there they are, which is,
Right, and in one view, I think, doesn't he zoom all the way back and you realize how difficult it would be? Yeah, here we go. So, here, if you're looking at this and then you zoom back, then you see how difficult it is to actually see those lights. Watch as we see there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Way back here, you're like,
there,
what?
There's nothing there.
Nothing.
So then why do you think Travis said that if you had zoomed in on the light that was cut in half,
it's the
full light wouldn't come in?
That's the only part I didn't understand what he was saying. It's the only part of the car, and I wish I would have asked him again, but I thought for a second he was saying something different, but then thinking back and now you mentioning it again, I didn't quite get what he was saying there, and I don't know why he would not use that as an okay argument. I mean, the argument is that, by zooming in, you can pick up that light again, but something close to that camera is blocking it's the same thing as boats over the horizon, right?
I would think. Because what he was saying is what the camera sees is what it sees, even if you zoom in or not. But I think that in zooming in, you're actually bringing not increasing, you're decreasing the perspective, how it
right.
Right, yeah.
You think it's almost like rising up a little bit, the zoom? I'm not really sure. I was kind of confused about that. I would have to ask him again because, clearly what he's saying, okay, so here we don't see those lights, right? At least it appears we don't. And by zooming in, then you do pick them up. So I'm wondering, he says that, okay, so I think what he's saying then is that from here, that you can see those lights and maybe just, how do you explain it? That just our eyes aren't picking it up or the camera's just not picking it up until it zooms in. But I think I agree with what he's saying, that you have to have line of sight to see, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that you're looking...
it's there, but it's so far away that with this kind of zoom,
right,
it would never even become a pixel.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as we talk about with the boat. So I understand what he's saying, because in one sentence I'm saying that you have to have line of sight. And in the next sentence we're saying, oh, well, you have to zoom in to see these. Well, you still have line of sight. So it is the camera's only bringing... And that's where I agreed with what he was saying. That the camera is only bringing up what it can see. It's only magnifying the line of sight. It's not going over any curve. And I've heard people describe that as like, oh, well, when the boat goes over the curve, then you can zoom in and bring it back. Well, that's kind of deceiving because there is no curve there. You have to have line of sight to those ships anyway. I just think that they get too small to decipher. And, of course, once you go further past the atmosphere or further into the atmosphere, like I've always described it as panes of glass or whatever, it becomes impossible to see that far. Mm-hmm. That's why
we don't have zoom eyes, right? Eyes that zoom. And I'm not sure some animals do. I think eagles might have some sort of the eyes are better in some birds. They have big eyes, and I think they're able to zoom. I'm not so sure if eagles are able to zoom in. This is always kind of it's very interesting, the study of the eyes of all animals. I know somebody who's a anthropologist that looks into.
That's a crazy study. I've never known how much I trust in all that. When they say, oh, well, they can see how how do dogs see? Oh, we know how dogs see. Well, I'm not sure if they really know how dogs see other than by just testing it, right? I mean, if you put, I don't know, a treat under a red bowl and a treat under a green bowl, can the dog recognize the colors? And maybe they realize no dogs are colorblind. they can't tell, if the colors are the same.
Yeah, I think you can tell. My dog used to not be able to find certain things in the green, in the red, if it's red or green, but if it was a ball. But I mean, they have so many other ways of finding things by smell and by sound, and so yeah, I always been skeptical of this, but I don't know how they do it. Actually, it might be quite, that kind of anatomical studies are quite advanced. There might be actual. I think that's how it is. There are actual differences between the eyes. When you look at human eyes and other animals, that you can realize some have more. Like cats, clearly you can see that their eyes are much quicker to adapt to light, and at night they can obviously see way better than we can. So that is pretty clear that nocturnal animals have much better night. They have night vision essentially, even mammals.
It could be that the laws of the inverse square laws, when they're bashed against the laws of perspective, then that's what you see what's going on here. I know that when we were out on the salt flat, we did a candle experiment for the inverse square law, and at 1.5 miles, you could see the light from one candle, but at 1.6 miles, you couldn't. So here we're looking at these lights, and you'd have to measure what the lumens were coming off of each light, but at some point,
and the color makes a difference as well.
It would, I would imagine. I mean, because with the green laser, you can see that at a greater distance than you can a blue, or even our 1-watt violet laser. You couldn't even see that when you could clearly see the blue and the green at 27.5 miles. So all that, I think, maybe is coming into play here when we're now. It'd be great if Travis could set up the same experiment over water, and when he's seeing half a light with his iPhone camera, get a zoom camera and zoom in and see if it comes back or not. That would be one way of testing it on the micro level.
Yeah, I think in that view he was only using his iPhone camera too, right?
Right. Yep.
Iru, did
what
you
is
want?
this, Jared?
I don't know. Iru sent some videos. Maybe I picked them up.
Yeah. No. I sent.
The heat camera.
Send you, and let me just send you another one very quickly. Nice. No, because for me it was a really nice idea. I mean, when you go into the surveillance services, they need long range distances cameras, and all the providers. Tell you that the best thing that you can buy if you want to look into distance is IR cameras and thermal cameras,
right.
Not optical cameras.
Right.
So we spend a lot of time, at the beginning of the flat Earth, because of course we are not professionals in all the fields. We start looking with optical cameras. Then a few in the community, like Chitolan and other ones, came with the idea of, hey, why we don't use IR filters?
Infrared.
Exactly. And now Rodrigo came with the idea of why we don't use thermal cameras for avoid fata morganas, mirages, and things like that. And that, for me, was a really nice idea. Of course, maybe the equipment is a little expensive. I make a really quick search while you was talking about all the stuff. But I just came
with
this.
Good where you found out here.
1 or 2 samples. You have also companies that sell this type of camera, because it's not just buying the camera to test it, but also could be nice to do the like we said here in Argentina, the big rubber basano, which means call to the company and ask how many kilometers you can reach to the horizon, and how clean up the conditions, in this mode or in the other mode, and blah, 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 and start reaching that kind of information before buying the equipment. And could be a nice idea, maybe go out to the seashores and make an optical observation, and at the site use a thermal camera, and that could be a really nice new way to test long distances records or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't know how practical they are, or if they're really expensive. I did see a camera that did come out for a while that I wanted to get, but I never was able to, called the Aurora camera. Did you ever see that?
No. Aurora camera.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and see if I can find something on it. But
Could be a nice combination. Imagine if we have an optical camera, then an IR camera, thermal camera, and a radar, all pointing to the horizon to a boat that supposedly must be under the curve, whatever.
Yeah.
That will be a really nice.
That's the ultimate research.
The ultimate test.
No, the research
Come
kit,
on,
right?
National Geographic.
Be the basic research kit that everyone should get.
Yes.
And don't think that you can convert your P900 to infrared and get some of those images.
You can't.
Because those cameras were specifically designed for infrared and thermal.
Exactly. Thermal, it's complete different thing that IR, maybe.
What's the deal? What's the deal with the thermal? Is it, do they have good, you cannot just put a filter, right? It has to be sensors or a particular camera made for it. Is this what that is?
I'm trying to see what this is. I mean, this is the camera that I was looking at, but it's really expensive, $599. But it records and it does basically night vision. I'll have to show you some. I think it was originally offered on one of those. What are those sites that you buy? Like Indiegogo or GoFundMe. It was one of those.
Right. They have gadgets, like new gadgets coming out.
Right, and that's where. So I think this camera is less than a year old because I remember it being on Indiegogo, and there was some deal when I wanted to get it. It was like be one of the first purchasers to get, and you get it for $300 or something like that. And
now it's off $5.
I think I don't know, and it's with the ultra low light. Basically, it's a night vision camera, but I'll have to look up some. I'll look up some videos here and see if I can find anything.
You can find ghost with that, man. Be careful. And
Be careful.
Maybe the Sheh Suite has this kind of special cover that you cannot detect it. But maybe there is a special camera to detect Sheh Suite.
Let's see if I can find the original place. And again, maybe they're what is the name? What is the other one? I want to say Go Kick Me or something. What's that one called?
Kickstarter?
Kickstarter.
No,
Thank you.
yeah.
Go Kick Me.
Go
kick me. Hey, man.
So this is the Kickstarter campaign that was originally. Although I'm always worried about these. There's been so many scams on these sites, especially with anything to do with space. I've done a couple videos on that. I don't know if you guys have seen that back 2 years ago.
Oh, scammy equipment.
Oh, just if you look up space on here, it's like every project never comes to fruition. If it's like even what's his name, Bill Nye tried to do. Oh yeah, I did so many videos on that 2 years ago. Karen, do you remember any of that stuff? When I would look at, I'd have to look again. But if we'll just have some fun.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah. They stopped responding to people and just ran away with the money.
Yeah, they just take the money every time. So if you look up anything space, this is all live, so maybe we'll find something that has been. But if you look up something space, I'm trying to find something like. They usually have like, we'll take pictures from the ISS, or we're going to launch our own satellite, and then those things never come to fruition. Let me see if I can find something. They had like the
good way to find funding for us. You can go and say, space space lovers. I my space crack T-shirt that I have on like Teespring or whatever. I made a shop that I call Space Lovers. Right, and so you can kind of twist, maybe push some things as pro space or whatever, and they're just their own space cracks, so they will eat it, right? But yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing. If they can do that, you can just say, let's make a picture book of NASA pictures telling the story of the Apollo 11 missions, and when you put the book out, what it has is the true story, not their story. Oh, but you can pretend it's not for a while. I don't know.
So this
that
is
maybe
one
it's a bad idea.
Look at this. This is a light sail one, and this is the one I've done before. I can look up some new ones, but there's supposed to be this light sail. Bill Nye they got $1.2 million. And then in all the comments and updates, people were just complaining the whole time with, I never got anything, this came never to fruition. Let's see, Super Backer 2 months ago. Let's see here. We currently don't have plans for a follow-up mission, but the society is already helping advance solar sail technology. Thanks, Bill. That's great. And they'll get away with it. I mean, these people just love space. And, let's see here. It's not the spacecraft that's reaching max speed. It's a momentum wheel. Hey, just an update. Why does the clock need updating after such a short time? had the engineers haven't been able to connect to it. What kind of anomalies can be found when the clock isn't updated? So at least he's answering now for here, but let me see if I can find any other space ones. I've done them in the past, but
what was the there was like a kick asteroid one or something?
I just saw that. Let me go back and look. I don't know what that is. I saw it was let's see here, Bill Nye and the Planetary Society.
The dinosaur head.
Look at this dude.
Oh boy, kick
It's an
asteroid.
ass.
Let's see here. So they've 1,600 backers have pledged $76,000 to this.
Wow.
And the last update was June 30th, 2019. So that's been, what, 6 months?
Months ago.
We've exceeded our 60,000 stretch goal and are now pushing beyond. I can never figure out what they're even trying to do it. Thanks. We've been funded. Kick asteroid. Let's see. Hey, asteroids, next time we're coming for you.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
It's a poster. They're spending 60. What are they doing? What's the product?
I don't know. Let me see
I
if
don't know,
can
guys,
figure it
but I thought the Earth was flat.
They
But
made a cool thumbnail and then they made a cool poster.
out. All right, let me see. Can we play
And they
this?
got $76,000 for it.
With 1,600 backers. Oh, man, people love their space. So this is supposed to stop asteroids. So I guess this one coming tomorrow we shouldn't worry about. What's going on here? I press play.
Greetings, Bill Nye here, CEO of the Planetary Society.
And I'm Thomas Romer of Chop Shop Store. I'm a graphic designer.
Every few thousand years, the Earth gets hit with an asteroid as big as a football stadium. It does a lot of damage.
Few thousand
Every
years.
few million
Wow.
years, the Earth gets hit with quite a bit larger object, a few miles or kilometers across. That's what happened to these guys.
Oh, boy.
Sorry about that, Steve.
What can a guy like me do to avert such a disaster?
What can I do?
So glad you asked. What we're going to do...
Look at his shirt, the
is
Voyager
raise
shirt.
our-
You see it?
What can a guy like me do to
Look at
avert
his
such a
Voyager
disaster?
shirt.
Oh, I'm so
Oh,
glad
my
you asked.
God.
What we're going to do is
Oh, my
raise
God.
awareness.
Oh, raise
Get
awareness.
everybody thinking about the importance of planetary defense. So what we want to do is get everybody to wear cool T-shirts,
Oh, boy.
cool pins,
Buttons, posters on your
posters.
wall.
and you'd have them on the wall and
Propaganda.
you'd be talking about it. And eventually our
Wow.
lawmakers would
See?
realize the importance of
R&B.
it. And we would make
How
sure
do you
we
get-
fund the telescopes we need to search the skies and the spacecraft we need to give an asteroid with our name on it a little bit of a nudge.
What? Oh, now they're going to... Oh,
This
yeah.
is quite doable, but first thing we want to do is get everybody talking about it. That's the key. And that's where Thomas and Chop Shop come in.
Wow.
Working
They admit
together,
they're
we
doing
can, dare I
propaganda
say
straight
it,
on. This
kick
guy's a
ass
joke. How can this guy be
It's a
considered
Kickstarter
a
campaign to kick ass.
scientist? People look at this guy doing this and they think, oh, this is an amazing scientist. Is that what
He
he
says it right in the beginning. He's like, "Hey, I'm Bill Nye, and this is this guy, and and what do you do?" He's like, "I'm a graphic designer. Hey, look, we made this poster and we made this cool T-shirt. We want everybody to talk about our cool poster and our cool T-shirt.
Right.
Like that's all it is." Oh my God!
So
And again,
terrible.
it's so sad. There's so many...
It's a scam.
And then you just go through and look at all the people complaining, you know? And he's like, oh, we're checking on the Chop Shop. We'll get back to you. I also did not receive my rewards. I pledged $50 and received my shirt, but paid $160. Did not receive my extra add-ons that I ordered. Can someone please help me out? Can someone please get back to me? Half my order is missing. Hello, I also never received my reward. I received an email saying it was sent USPS, but the tracking number doesn't show any progress. And, you know, he says, thanks for sending a new one. I received it this week. But what are they receiving? They're receiving a shirt. I received a shirt, but have not received the screen print.
It's a nice $160 shirt.
Yeah.
T-shirt. It's worth it.
We
It
need
has
to
space on it.
change gears, man. I
We
mean,
could
we
spread
need
the
to
word.
get back to the globe immediately and start doing this kind of thing.
I think so, too.
Yeah, man. What
we should have
wasting
a
our
plan.
time.
We should have like a backup channel, you know, our Baller Dave type of style thing, you know, a group, and you know, a hiding group, kind of like I don't know, like. But yeah, you could totally do that because look at Simon Dan or whatever. The guy is an idiot, and I don't know how many subscribers he has. I don't know how many he bought, but you have so many cases of this. And if people are willing to give this much money, we can give it a good home. You know, give it, buy the radar, buy the cameras, the thermal cameras, do some research and help some people. You know, what are they doing with this money? Why can he scam people? And we're not even scamming anyone, but you know, we should ride the wave. If it's just product, and that's all there is. If they're, the reason why they can get away with it is that they made a T-shirt and they made a nice poster, and they want everybody to have it, we can do the same.
After the campaign closed, a number of you reached out to ask us about getting more Kick Asteroid items. Well, now they're available for sale. It's so easy. You got $76,000 and you could produce some T-shirts for people to buy. Great.
My goodness.
Hey, I was sitting here thinking, he was saying that he did a long distance over land. Say that you have a frame of reference for the distance, and then you see a horizon way out in the distance, and then you do the measurement of what the curvature of the Earth should be, and then you go out and stand right there where the hump should be. And so if you zoomed in, you could show provably that you're not being miraged or mystically refracted, and then you keep going past you. Wouldn't that like definitively prove that there isn't a geometric, physical horizon there if you're in the view?
Well, they'll just say you're being loomed up, right? Or no?
I guess.
I don't know either.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking through it. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but I just feel like if I'm seen on the ground, in the horizon's flat, could you really say that there was looming? I guess you could. They'll come up with something anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Here's one where you can get a poster of the Earth as it was on your most significant day, powered by NASA satellite imagery, printed on 100%
Always NASA.
cotton.
Yeah.
Thank you, NASA. They got $8,202 for this particular
Wow.
one. But I don't know if that seemed to come to fruition. That wouldn't be hard to do. That wouldn't be hard to CGI, would it? Ira, we could do that. We'll give you a picture
Man,
of the flat
immediately,
Earth on your
I'm
day.
I just came with, I have done 3 in these 2 seconds, so I'm gonna start selling. Search for my project. I really uploaded.
This one's received
No,
$1.
it's amazing. I mean, it's...
Yeah, so some of them only get this. This one got 1 backer for $1. Stop climate change from space. Okay, thank you. Self-healing materials
the
in space.
CubeSat are one of the best business.
Oh, here they are.
For some people. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
SkyCube.
You
still have
satellite
some,
launched by
you have some footage, Edu, from the sats, the CubeSats being launched, which is
from Peru. Yeah, that's amazing. 1, 2, 3, view.
What is this nonsense?
This is
$1,100.
$116,000.
$100,000.
The nano satellite that lets you take Earth images and tweet from space, then inflates a visible balloon and deorbits cleanly. See if anybody ever heard of this
What?
one. Some people unsolicited spam, just got spam from the campaign. So what happened? Do I get to tweet now? See, this is the thing. It's 5 years ago, and nothing ever happens. It's just these people are like, so what happened? What went on? You did everything you could, and if you do another project, sign me up. So it means it failed.
Right, look at the next one.
Awesome
how is that
project.
allowed,
It isn't a
though?
failure. It's just another learning for the next big project. As everyone else, we are disappointed that it did not work out as planned. However, I really want to thank you for making us dream. It was fantastic.
But yeah,
This
build my
explains why
house
NASA gets away with
and
anything.
buy
It
a
just
car.
it allows you to dream. Just
Well, you
allows
just
to
said,
dream.
Sums it up right there.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, that one example that you just gave of the person coming around and saying, no, it's just more learning. That's typical example of the audience trying to save the face of the reality that's just been kind of, uncovered there, which is that the thing is a fraud. And the audience, because they're willing to believe so much, that's been studied. I'm talking about it because Irving Goffman, that I made some videos about, he talked about it in the arts of impression management, that when people are putting up theater, especially governmental agencies. So that's typical of the audience that has been hypnotized by their idol, essentially. And when they start falling apart, they come up with all these new excuses to try to save face. It's kind of an automatic reaction. But it's quite an example there, I thought.
Here's 116,000 pledged and still no satellite. I could probably do better with a Pringles can, an iPhone, and an SD model rocket. I feel robbed at this point. Sorry, Tom. So decided to check on this. Sad to hear that after almost 2 years, the project is dead. However, I don't regret sending my $10 to follow a really fun idea. Just think of how many times the Wright brothers failed. Yeah. If SkyCube is dead, then let us know. Do not ignore us. How's it going? When will messages start broadcasting? Again, this is just so easy. Iru could do this. Iru, we're going to send a satellite up. We're going to let people take pictures of the flat Earth, and then it doesn't happen.
Right now, sir.
Yeah, he's setting it up right now.
Right away, man. Right away.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I wonder here why they didn't set up a server that does the tweets for them and pretends it's in outer space.
Right.
Because that's what they would do normally.
I don't know. Help us build a satellite. How about this one? It's got a bunch of money. $15,000. Self-healing materials in space. What? Space Concordia is a new satellite project focusing this time on testing an amazing self-healing material in space. I don't know. They probably didn't get enough to go through with it or something, is what they'll say.
Did you see the new solar mission that they're saying they're going to the sun?
And these people still never received any of my perks, t-shirt, calendar, mission patch, etc. Hi, I'm very apologetic about this. To tell you the truth, we had a lot of problems with perks since this is a purely voluntary project done by full-time students. As such, whenever we ask somebody to design the patch for free, they agree. Then after a while, either they don't deliver, so it's just excuses. Enough is enough. If my mission patch has not arrived by the end of the month, I will be contacting Kickstarter and Concordia administration. Is there any update on the rewards? I'm still waiting. Any update would be appreciated. Yeah, this site is scary. That's why when I saw, and this all started when we were talking about that camera, right? So when I was seeing that camera, the first thing that goes through my mind is, uh-oh, is this just another scam? So that's what's scary about these sites. You have to really be careful before you...
Can I share my screen a little bit?
Absolutely.
Quickly?
Yes.
Just quickly.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sharing?
No, I'm reading this one real quick. Hold on one more time. This one says, launch a water-propelled satellite into space. They received $96,000. And let's see the comments. They finally were fined for the launch without FCC license, $900,000. Doctor posted this on LinkedIn today. Quick update about the new company. Apparently there was some trouble. At least the concept has not fallen into oblivion. I don't know, something. So Ben gave me a response. He'll come with an update. So it's like, there'll be an update within 2 weeks, and then that was 3 years ago. So that's what I mean. It's just a little bit scary. But go ahead, Iru. Yes, you can share now whenever you're ready.
Supposedly I'm sharing now, right?
Let me go. I don't see it on mine. Let me close this. Yes, now you're good.
Okay, no, I have here a satellite.
Oh.
In 3D, yeah. So what I thinking was, I make a quick render, and right away we can start our Kick project right now. So tell me a name of the project, how much the money, what we need, and
can we put
upload it?
Can we put Bill Nye's,
and start,
if we put Bill Nye's picture on it, we'll be set. You just need Bill Nye's face on there.
And this is the best Kickstart project in terms of satellite. Look the complexity of this satellite, man. I mean, we are going to need a lot of money to build this, but
it's not going to be cheap.
Just name it after a god, some sort of ancient Greek god.
Yes,
it's the Hermes Trismegistus satellite.
Yeah, something like that.
People will love that.
So, right away, after when the show has been, it's finished, we're going to upload our special project. So people in the chat, please send a comment for the name with the hashtag scam the whole world. And, we can do it very fast. I'm stop sharing. It was, just this.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you for the support, guys. I know it's complete bullshit, but I need to do it. Sorry.
I think you can call it the Blue Beam satellite project.
Yeah, we could use at the best of NASA. For example, a name that is an acronym of another name of another name. We use 6 letters like Lucifer, which means large range telescope based on the mountain of the... So we can use something like that.
This one's in Spanish, but it was supposedly supposed to be the first satellite made in Costa Rica. They got $81,000 for it. And, of course, the comments are...
We don't see your screen, Jaron.
Oh, my bad. Let me go fix that. I always forget. Okay, there we go. Now you see it? Whoops. Now you see it?
Yeah.
So just another one. Has it launched? What is the current status of fulfilling this project? What month is the launch date in 2018? So, I mean, it just never happened.
As if they're gonna answer, right? That you gave them money and you think they're gonna answer, which is very different from the way we treat our patrons on Patreon, right? Like you have people that actually support your work, that know exactly what your work is, and they be following your work is a completely different thing. They know what they helping, and they get something back. This is just a full on scam, and yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a full-on scam. I don't know if these people have good intentions, and for all I know, they possibly do. But then they just run into all the problems that we realize that you can't go to space. You can't send these satellites up there. Why? That's special. That's protected. And so these people might have good ideas and good, it's easy to send a satellite. It's easy to make a CubeSat. And then they get to a point where they have to start ignoring people because otherwise they have to admit, oh, this is just bullshit.
Right.
And what are they going to say? And again, they also realize that these people are also happy to support space, that they really don't.
Look how many there are. It's just insane.
Satellite time code from outer space. I don't know what that means. 0 configuration, 0 drift time code sync for sound, picture, and multi-camera shots. What? I don't even know what that is.
I think they're claiming that their camera is going to connect to satellite to sync with the other cameras somehow.
I don't know what this is. What? And then throw a picture in from... Here it is. User experience circa 1969, the year SMPT timecode and Neil Armstrong made big steps. Apollo 11 control panel courtesy. So I don't know. And, for all I know, maybe these did come through. Looks like it never happened. Again, at least that's what the comments show. It doesn't really show anybody ever commented. Maybe that means that it did go through. I don't know what this is. All dishes have shipped. Oh, so they have something that, at least this one did something, but I don't know what it is. CM confirmed to us that the boards are not yet complete. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure if somebody spent some time looking through that, they would get a lot of interesting answers. So anyway, the Aurora Kickstarter, this is the one I was talking about. I was on the site and saw this pretty cool camera. Now let's see what happens with this one. Comments. And how much did they even get? They got 304,000. Pitch now exists. My wife and said, so everybody did get their camera on this one.
Yeah, and well, if it's being sold, you saw it's being sold commercially on
This
Amazon,
is a wonderful
whatever.
camera. I've been amazed at the quality in night mode. The only thing is I'm not sure if the lens is going to get scratched. Any suggestions on a permanent lens? Finally received my camera this week, only 6 months late after 5 unanswered emails. So that's why you just got to be careful on these sites. That's why it's much better now that it's on Amazon. At least with Amazon, if you order something and it's not what you're expecting, you get a refund.
Mm-hmm.
There's no accountability on this website?
I think that they'll even tell you, like, if it's they can't control the user. Yeah, they can't control the experience. So be careful. Do some vetting on who's actually offering it. But I do think there is something on the site. Like if this person offers you a camera and you never get a camera, I'm sure there's something you could do to get your money back. But then again, maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to say that because I could be wrong. A new Aurora Sport pre-order. There was a cool little video at one time on here that showed what kind of camera it would be, but I don't know how you find that. Oh wait, campaign maybe? Campaign. Let's see if they have a video of it. But it looked pretty cool. But I'm sure it's not as good as other ones. But maybe somebody has access to. Oh yeah, and they showed a video of this showing like this is the regular night view, and then this is what their camera showed. But I thought there was good. Oh, see, like this, looking across. But it doesn't look much different than IR, does it? Let's see this video here. Turn it down. So you'll see this video is like with their, and I think in a second they'll turn it off, and you can see it's got like a very low light sensor. Let's see here. So these people getting off. Kind of looks like the camera you were showing a little bit. I guess I can make that a little bigger. So see, this is at night. It's pretty incredible. How do I get out?
Yeah, that's cool.
But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's expensive for a
that
camera.
combined with thermal and infrared and everything, really good. You can see the trees in the distance. They should be totally under in the dark.
So this is showing you like, with it off and then with it on. So definitely is a good night view camera, but I don't know. I thought there was better videos of it if I remember right. Maybe this one. Oh, it also does time lapse. That was the other cool thing about it. So it's time lapse and it can record right in it. But again, I don't know if anybody's ever reached out. Now it's the one time they were selling 5 cameras for $2,000. Now they're what, $5.99 each we saw or something? I don't remember what the price was at Amazon. $5.99, $6.99.
Yeah, $5.99 I think.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that's a good idea though, Rodrigo, of getting those kind of it's waterproof, which is a good thing. But we talked about getting it, but it was too expensive and too fishy, with it being on Kickstarter. But pretty cool camera. I'm sure there'll be more, better and better things coming out too. Oh, now this thing plays. Before it didn't even play. Let's see if it shows anything better here. Hello.
Yeah, if you can put a scope on one of those things and get a nice zoom. It's interesting that the P900s don't come with anything like that already, a night vision kind of thing. Because it used to be a feature of old cameras, video cameras even. But I used to have one that had that, and it turned people's eyes kind of green and stuff. It's kind of like Blair Witch Project style, if you remember that. I think they might use that as well.
The Sony Handycams did that.
Right.
This is just showing people using it, and so this is kind of that's at night. That's pretty cool. There.
Looks like daylight.
Right. It's just got a really tiny, so it takes in the most possible light. So I thought that would be amazing to see the sky with that or distances, but you see the night versus the day. It looks like daytime.
Yeah.
But anyway, see this night versus this. I mean, this looks like day. That's crazy.
Wow.
So I don't know. I would love to hear from anybody who actually ever purchased one of these, what they think of it. Pretty incredible stuff. But I'm sure, there you go. There's look at this versus this.
Yeah. See way in the distance there.
Big difference. Yeah, let me see. Okay, there we go. Get out of that. All right. Anyway, now I lost my train of thought. Let's see. Put this up here so I can turn this on.
What do we had prepared? What's going on with you, Karen? Like, I'm curious. What's the latest?
It's the latest and greatest.
With me?
With you.
Well, I've just been doing Tuesdays with Mark, doing Strange World, and then Thursdays I do a show with Brian, Thursday evening.
Rodrigo, are you going to do your presentation on Thursday on my channel?
Yeah, if you like.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Just make sure to put you down.
Get ready for that.
And Iru, whenever you want to do, I want to do your presentation still from España. He left.
Iru?
Yeah, just step away.
Okay. I got to use the restroom.
I'm here. I just typed in the comment section because a friend of mine came to my home, and I need to talk about a few things about work. Here the things in Argentina are a little complicated, so I going to join the show in 20 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. If we're still here, you are welcome to join. Bye-bye, Euro. All right, so that's good. So Thursday then, and then I did see, did you see this one? Or just you? Maybe it was you, Rodrigo, who sent me this. Speaking of space crack, this video of JAXA.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I wanted to I wonder what you guys would think of this.
It's so
Austin, have you seen this?
I have not.
It's just talking about spamming. They have these children running in and looking into the future, and these children are looking in on the offices of all the data coming in.
Humanity's future. Do you see that in the bottom? Like you're saying that what they're saying in Japanese, and they're looking, they getting inspired. And this guy's showing a rocket, everyday occurrence. See, like rockets in the future be an everyday thing. You'd be going up in a rocket, accelerating from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour, and very quickly, and no problem. Satellites for peace.
There's some CGI going across the Earth. It's so funny because when somebody like Mark Sargent says to those guys on that station, oh, well, it's just CGI, they all are appalled. How could it be CGI that they're showing us? Well, easy. They show it constantly. It's all over the place. And then they, oops, what was that noise? Oh, look at the moon. Oh, boy. And here's this guy walking on the dusty moon.
Yeah, look at this. They're showing you where they might be simulating all this stuff. They're freaking moon sat. Look at that.
And it's even got the fall off just like the Apollo 11 stuff and Apollo 12, obviously 13. Well, not 13, 14, 15.
Look at this
16,
people
17.
in this concrete wall. Just just a copy of NASA with the astronauts, that thing that they had there.
I mean, what the hell? You could show kids doing circles in anything. Kids do this in Walmart.
Spinning, yeah.
They do this in Walmart. So
Oh my goodness.
what does that mean? Look into the future. Children will be running around Walmart. It'd be amazing. Oh boy.
They allow us to dream.
Absolutely. Thank goodness for that. I'm willing to donate
Such
money
exploitation.
for allowing me to dream.
And look at their logo as well. Get that star and it's just like
yep.
One of those Lockheed Martin or one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It looks just like theirs.
Yep.
So interesting. And Wendell, what's new with you? How's the documentary coming along?
Very well. We're trying to wrap up the last of the observations, and it's going through the transcripts and of all the interviews that we got back in Dallas and pulling out all the nuggets from that. It's great to review. Everyone had some really great things to say. And then also, I mean, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, this week has just been an embarrassment of riches. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about Travis presenting perspective, I think that we need to talk about that as far as Curve is concerned, and then putting everything into context. Like when Dave interviewed Grandma Ruth, that was just stellar. We want to include that in there as well. As a matter of fact, in talking with Shelley, it would be great not only to have Ruth, a segment of her on there, but like what Dave suggested, if anyone just goes out and talks to another a person that's who was taught that as a child and gets that on video, then we'd like to include that as well. So if you want to send that to behindwhatcurve@gmail.com, then we'll put maybe a compilation of those clips together, because I firmly believe that a person's personal testimony is their superpower. So when you can't argue with that. If people were really taught that back in the 20s and 30s, or up to the 20s and 30s, then great. Let's get that out there so that people just know about it. So yeah, there's been some great things that have been happening this week that we will include in the documentary.
Any new observations you want to do, or any new tests you guys want to do, or are you tapped out for now?
Well, I think that we want to work with Joe Mama has offered his boat to go out and do the actual boat observation.
Oh, sweet!
And I would love to be able to sail right through the Black Swan derricks and show how, because if you're going to put your boat out there, we could use GPS. But if you show the boat sailing by the first oil derrick and the second oil derrick, you know exactly where those are at. So
good point. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
I guess it would just be designing the best observation to really close the loops on some of these arguments, because even McToon, he said, well, you haven't you're not showing what the temperature is. You're not showing what the gradient is at altitude, that kind of thing. If we could do some of that to close those loops, then it would just, there's nowhere left for them to run and hide. What are they going to say except just to practice cognitive dissonance and simply deny it?
Well, that's what they've been doing forever, is they just keep going back to this, and it's the same thing I always talk about with the IIG. That's when I really realized, like, oh man, you talk about an uphill battle when you've got people saying it doesn't matter how far you see. So when we do show a boat at 50 miles, at 100 miles, what difference does it make if they're able just to say, oh no, that's just bending, everything that you see bends along the curve of the earth? I mean, what are you supposed to say at that point?
There's nothing left to say. And also, today, Valentine's Day, today the Flat Earthers versus Scientists on Jubilee Media topped 9 million views.
Oh, I was going to say, last time I saw it was 8.5 or something.
It is still going strong. And so I've been hopping in the chat a little bit to answer some of these comments. But, I mean, if you're looking for anything to do, anyone, just get in there and just start flat smacking people there. Because I think it's up to, 155,000 comments now. But that's still going strong. So it's interesting. This last week I felt, to be transparent, I felt a little low in that there were these awesome things like Travis presenting and the observation over at Frozen Lake, etc. It's like, wow, what do I have to offer? Right? Because these things are so far beyond, what I can do. But then I thought, we all have something to offer. There may be something that we can specialize in that will move the conversation a little bit farther. For example, earlier in the show, it was mentioned, hey, if somebody put together all these global arguments that people have retracted from, well, I don't have time to do that, right. But maybe somebody else does, and then that would benefit all of us. No,
I agree. I think it just takes time, as with anything else. Although I'm sure, Rodrigo, I don't know how long it took you to put together Spacecrack. I guess we'll talk about it Thursday.
Well, that was quick because there's a bunch of writing, and that's kind of what I do. But also, like Wendell was saying, like everyone's got their own story to tell. So yeah, of course, you collected your observations. They add to a whole bunch of other observations. But you're telling a story. You're a filmmaker. It's a story everyone wants to hear. It's one more story, but we need that because there's been behind the curve and things like that. The magazine, I always liked, since I was a kid, I wanted to put together, things like that. I think is a way to present information, is another way to present information. It's fun to do these kind of publication style thing. And I thought, because I do some writing and I like doing this, why not get the writing together with some of the things that we've been talking about? There's been so much. And I've been always talking about, like, trying to talk about, let's do this, let's publish this, or try to get this and right. But I figure out that I have to do it, some of the stuff at least, So that's kind of the story behind this, that I wanted to help in some way. And I also felt a little bit uncomfortable having people on my Patreon be making videos and knowing that I could do something. At least, even if it's not many people, and have that kind of, at least getting that started a little bit more, changing the way I communicate and helping people all along, because there's so much good information. For instance, the Freiburg Undercover stuff, there's Alex's music, there's your work, there's Ido's work, Karen has been talking about a lot of things. There's so many interesting people, work, lots of evidence, and when you it's one of the things I do. And most of the things I'm reading about Jack Parsons, for instance, and as I'm reading this book on him, I'm coming up with my own ideas, and I've kind of, that's one of the things I do, and I recommend everyone to get this kind of practice if you like to write, which is anything you're looking at or reading. Don't just read, but take notes and write something about it. Sometimes when I was feeling not very creative, for instance, to not have my ideas, I would just
take some quotes of things I thought that I agree with or that I disagree with that I wanted to dive into. And after a while, after I was writing that, I would be getting more ideas. And later, maybe the next day, you look at something else that's related and you start building, then you're reading and you're writing. So it's something I do for many years that I enjoy, and I can't turn off. Even if I'm doing a bunch more music. And I'm not sure you saw the Maculelo album. Did you guys see that I shared?
I don't think I did. No.
Yeah, it's something that's on my Patreon. You can see later, but that's one of the weirdest things I've ever done. Projects that I've done with a musician that allow me to completely transform his performances, his vocal performances. It's a very odd thing, but it's got a cover that was made by our friend Snap Willem.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you talking about that. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He does great work, and you can find him on Snapchat. By the way, I did miss a super chat. I didn't even notice. JQ at about an hour ago, I guess, said, "Tell Dave to have a beer with me right now." Dave, go have a beer with JQ already. Where is Dave? Is Dave in the chat? I haven't been looking at the chat at all, but Dave, you should join the show and say hello. People would love to hear from you. If people missed it, Monday was a good Raw. We had Owen Benjamin on. We had Crow 777 and Jason Lingren. So that's always a fun show, and got to hear from him. We talked a little bit about Ruth, and what did you guys think of that video? Pretty good, huh?
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I enjoyed that, and
Mhm.
I hope more people get out and do it. That's really the hope. Is that I don't have any grandparents left. I don't know about you guys, but you know,
I have a couple.
You get to that point, and you're like, man, what I wouldn't give to go back and just have one more conversation with them. You know.
You never know what's going to really resonate with people. I mean, that really resonated with me, and I didn't know that the Jubilee Media thing would take off and have 9 million views. And who knows how, Space Crack Magazine, if that's going to resonate with folks, take off as well. You never know. I mean, did you know, Jaron, when you first started out, that it was going to grow into what it is today?
The Space Crack Magazine?
No, as far as your channel.
Like, did I know it was going to be a 1-volume magazine? Yeah, no. No, of course not. No, in fact, I mean, I actually miss the old days. I was telling Bob yesterday that I miss just being able to kick back and have a conversation, kind of like we're having now. And no, I mean, I started out making a video and was happy that it had 10 views, and then excited that you had 10 subscribers. And to anybody out there that's only there, I mean, it takes a lot of time. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years now or something, and I think Raw, we have episode I don't know if 198 or 199 coming up, but that's just insane. That's a weekly. Used to be 3 hours, and over the last year it's been only 2 hours, but that's a lot of shows. That's a lot of years. That's almost 4 years on TFR.
I remember I was watching your channel before you even got on TFR, so at the very beginning.
That's a long time ago.
And how was it that like for me it seemed like you're just following the information, and every day it was something else. And for me, I was just, that was I watched it a lot, but it didn't have any order in terms of like counting the shows or anything like that, right? You were just doing your thing.
Are you talking about on my channel?
Yeah, like in the very beginning at that time. How was it at that time?
Yeah, I was just putting out video after video. I mean, I think that, when you put out like a hour video, that's how I started, was doing videos like that. And it seemed like people just enjoyed it and, told me to keep going. And I got a lot of people saying that they resonated. And I miss those days, though, because it was like, 2 or 3 emails a day from people saying, hey, keep going. We agree with what you're saying. And it was easy to respond to. And it was... it kind of felt like a nice small community. And then as things get bigger and bigger, and I always have this issue with people who, start to realize that they can't, it's like Dave used to, say to me, oh, how come you don't respond to all your emails? And it just got to the point where I was like, I just can't anymore. And now Dave's at that point where he's like, oh man, now I see what you're saying. So it does take a while till you get to that point, but then all of a sudden it just becomes overwhelming. Everything from every corner. And then you get, all these Twitter private messages and Facebook private messages and YouTube comments, and it just becomes actually really overwhelming. It's kind of saddening that you wish it didn't. I almost wish sometimes it
You
didn't
need a
get
team.
that big.
Yeah, you need somebody to read your messages, or you need to have like a secretary that does that for you
And
at
that's
some
just,
point.
That's just out of this. It's just a little bit insane. So you find your few people that you kind of click with, like you guys, and people that you can connect with. And now you guys know how to get a hold of me. I mean, nobody would be missing me for longer than a day if they really needed me. And then people can reach out to other people to get a hold of you. So it's just kind of, it's just been a process. And it was awesome getting invited on TFR because, it was something I thought I would never do. When I started making YouTube, I was like, oh, this is cool. I can kind of say what I want. And I think when you're a smaller channel, you can get away with really saying anything you want.
What's the story behind that, the TFR itself? Do you know?
From its beginning?
Yeah, why did they? Why did they open up right away? Because there's nobody else giving a voice like that to people in the community.
No, and that's
Like
why I
you,
really
Paul.
hope more people, listen to that station because it's a great idea, and it's all done by Chris and Sheree Geo. They're a husband and wife that live, I believe, in the Pacific Northwest, and they wanted a place where people could speak freely, and they wanted it to be listener funded. And that's a fantastic idea, right? I mean, so if you sign up for TFR, and it's great that they offer it for free, so anybody can listen to any of my shows for free, while it's live and during the next week. And then after that, it goes into the archives, and if you want to get into the archives, I think it's like the most expensive package is $10 a month. If you buy 6 months, it would only be, $40 or whatever. And if you buy a year, it's only $80, some deal like that. But the great thing about that, too, is you get all the archives. So every show that's ever been on TFR, whether it's Crow 777, whether it's Mark Sargent or Rob Skiba or all the other people, Susan Lindauer, who used to be in the government. I mean, there's just a lot of shows on there, and it's all people just doing it from home through Skype. And if people sign up, then we get a small percentage. And I make nothing on that show. I mean, it's I think Dave Weiss gets he gets the PayPal now because I don't have PayPal anymore. But it's like, between $30 and $50 a month, which is great. Hey, I'll take anything, but it's not like anybody's making a gang of money over there. And I'm sure some of the other channels aren't doing much better. Maybe they do a little better. They've been on there longer. Or they have more listeners. But I think Chris and Sheree Geo, they also make the other half of the percentage. So they're able to do their show, run the radio station. And if there's ever any updates on Skype, they're right there taking care of it because it's a pretty robust system. I don't know how they do it. I think the site is run on WordPress, to be honest, which is pretty incredible. But basically, you just call into Skype and the studio picks up, and then you're able to do a live show during your time slot. And as long as everyone's on the same page, because I think the way it works, I'm not sure, Karen, maybe, does Mark run the show from his end? You don't run it, do you?
Yeah, Mark runs it.
Yeah. Because if I'm not mistaken, like if I wanted to, talk about being a jerk, if I called in the Skype line on the night that Mark's supposed to do the show, I think I would be able to do Mark's show. So, like, that's how it's, we all have to be on our, you just have to make sure you call in when it's your turn, when it's your show. I don't think it knows who's calling in. So, for instance, on Monday nights at 6, if somebody really wanted to in that TFR community to call in to the number, and they would be able to run my show. So it's kind of interesting how it runs. It's just we all know when it's our time.
What about the commercial breaks and the or the breaks they have in the kind of it says jeranism. It has like a introduction to your show, right? The person would be getting that as well and speaking in your turn.
Yeah, if they wanted to. But I mean, that's the cool thing about it is we're all on the same page. It's not like there's people out to get each other. So that's what's great about it. That's why it's really cool. And everybody does their own thing and everybody shows up when they're supposed to do it. And if nobody calls in the show when it's my turn, then it turns on an old broadcast. So it's really a nice system. I can't speak highly enough about everything. And like I've said, the great thing about it was when Chris reached out to me and said, hey, like the work that you're doing, would you be interested in having your own show? I was like, no, I don't want to be ever censored about what I can talk about. He's like, oh no, we give you 100% free reign. You can talk about anything you want. Like anything? He's like, yeah, you can say anything you want, and we'll never micromanage what you can or can't say. So there was one period of time for like 2 weeks where they were trying to get picked up by iHeartRadio, where he reached out to all the people and just said, hey, for the next few weeks, can you try not to curse as much, as we're trying to get picked up by iHeartRadio? And everybody said, sure, yeah. And then for 2 or 3 weeks, nobody cursed. And then he came back and said, okay, we got picked up by iHeartRadio. Now you can go back to And that's the only time he's ever limited anything that we've been able to say. So it's awesome. But I think more people should head over there. There's a lot of great shows on there. Karen's over there. And he allows us to, simulcast half the show on YouTube, which I try and do, and put some of it on D Live. But really, people should go there and sign up. Not just for me, not just so I get $5 a month, but because it's good for the station, and I hope the station keeps going, even if I'm soon gone from there. I would hope it continues on. All right. Well, I don't know if Ira's coming back. I don't know if I had anything else. I thought I had something else, but I don't really see anything on my screen. We did that.
Did you see the Martin Kenny thing?
Yes. Yeah, David Weiss and I talked about it too. I mean, on Monday, or maybe it was last Monday. But
you talked about it Monday.
Who am I to say what he is or what he isn't? Each person's on their own path. But yeah, he says he's Copernicus now, and he's starting a little mystery school of the occult, right, or something.
Did he say he's Copernicus?
You didn't know that?
Really?
Oh yeah, he's Copernicus reincarnated.
He didn't say it in that last video, but...
No, but he did it in a few videos ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Really? He did say that?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, he's got a video.
No
where
way.
I thought you knew that.
I thought he was just thinking he was some kind of prophet by the way he was dressing and speaking, but the whole thing is just...
No, he's the reincarnated Copernicus, and he's back to erase the errors that he put on mankind, 400 years ago. There's no laughing, he wrote. Sorry, just kidding. You laugh
and he purchased some place in Portugal. Now he's asking for money, and
he dresses like Copernicus.
Oh my goodness.
No.
I thought it was just the 2020 vision that the apocalypse. So people are gonna. It's just like what David Wilcock was saying. The DNA update in 2012, and I thought it was just something like that. But this took an unexpected turn with and it's interesting that he throws anthropology in there somehow, that they're doing it or something, and
I don't know.
And they put in the mystical
my feeling is, as long as you are promoting goodness and you are trying to make people's lives better, then I don't mind some of the other stuff. But it's just why a lot of people were giving me a hard time. Man, you cannot dare say a bad word about Christians on YouTube. You will get buried. Just in that video I did yesterday with the mask on, where I was kind of laughing at Chris Green and AMTV for his Bible prophecy, this and that. Well, all I got was people saying, "I will not watch you anymore. How dare you go against somebody who works in the name of Christ?"
Wow.
Oh, you cannot do it. I mean, Karen knows,
man. How dare you?
How dare I, So,
and there was that guy saying God made you turn into this video right now and give me your money and stuff, and here's the Bitcoin frenzy, and you're not.
It's just ridiculous. If people think that, I mean, it's just like Dean Odle. The whole thing with Dean Odle. If people want to think Dean Odle is being moved by Jesus, and they can go ahead. I mean, I'll laugh at it all day long. He calls Karen, "You're the latest." Karen and I were going to have an Inferno match for the battle out for the head antichrist of the universe, because Dean Odle has put me in that class and called my wife a foul-mouthed heathen, and now what has he said about when people make those comments, I just stop watching them. So Karen, I have to admit, I have not seen what Dean Odle has said about you. What has he said? What's his latest on you?
He calls me a New Age witch.
Right.
Somebody else was calling me the Antichrist the other day.
Okay.
I don't know.
What is with the stone throwing Christian crew? I never understood this. Doesn't fit the Bible itself.
Doesn't fit being Christian at all. No, and it's
doesn't.
I don't know. They don't even know me. It's crazy. The people, they just make stuff up.
And then other people believe it.
I saw this picture on her channel.
Right.
It's that sigil. That means she's the Antichrist.
Oh boy. It's like there's a picture of my wife and I where we were on a cruise, and we're both. This is back before we got married, so it's probably 2010, somewhere in, I think, February of 2010. We went on this cruise, and we're like on the deck, and we both have our tongues out. And people take that video and they're like, "Oh, this is the sign of the devil. This is Satan worship, to stick your tongue out." It's so funny. It's like, what? My wife and I were on a cruise with a little handheld camera. We turned it on ourselves and stuck our tongue out like, and took a picture, and ended up on the internet, and everybody takes that and runs with it, that's demon worship, and it's sad. It's like, there's people out there.
They make stuff up, right? It's just it's part of the whole anonymity thing. That it's not something they could do in face-to-face situation.
No, and it's all about getting views. I think that's what this has all become. Is like people, once they get going on YouTube, they're all about views. And I don't even look at my thumbnail on today's show. It's just some text. Jeranism Friday Lounge number 14 another day. I don't do the warning this, this and craziness, because I don't want to get. I'm not trying to get views from people who don't want to just see what I'm doing. So it's just an easy thumbnail. Friday Lounge number 14. Join us. We're going to sit around and talk. That's it. 102-year-old Ruth. Here's a picture of Dave and Ruth. Whatever it is, a Globebuster show. It just says Globebusterish with the title. But there's so many people out there that have to put in these little trigger words, and they have to try and get views, and they have to make fun of other people, because when you do that, you'll immediately. If I go make a show right now and I go after some other flat earther, well, I'm going to get some increased views. That's just the way it goes. But these other people, they see that, they say something about another flat earther, they get some increased views, and then they think, oh, look at me, I'm getting views now, and those people go by the wayside. Man, it's just no time at all until they're just gone. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. I'm sure Karen has too. So what do? I just keep moving on. It's another day. Keep pushing forward. Couldn't care less. These people will be gone in no time. Because people resonate with what makes sense, who's being honest, who's being truthful, who's not calling names. And other than that, I don't want to be part of the Jerry Springer show. I don't want to be throwing shit.
I hope people don't make the same mistake that I used to, which is judging who the creator is based on how his alleged children misbehave. Because even Jesus said, look, take the log out of your own eye before you try to take the splinter out of your brother's eye, right? So he never asks us to act out of fear. And with the AMTV, it's like this is all like what we were talking about all week, fear porn.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to show off. If people, that's what I'm trying to show people. And if people think that that's a Christian way to behave, I don't think a Christian way to behave is ever to use Bible prophecy. And it's the same thing. You have to remember, Dean Odell one time got in front of his whole entire audience and told them that God came and told them that 9/11 would happen on the date that it would happen and in what city it would happen. And then, people, they just hear that, and then rather than say, wait a second, is this really how God's going to use his freaking powers and his community, is to tell Dean Odell, somebody who has 24 people in his church, that 9/11 is going to happen? Don't you think there's a few more people you might want to tell, some more important higher ups than Dean Odell? This is what God does on his days. And again, who am I to say that God didn't talk to him? All right, whatever. Maybe God did. I say I don't believe it, period. And anybody who wants to believe that, it's insanity.
It's funny that you have to be convinced by something that's not convincing. This is what I found as well. I think I talk about this in Space Crack. They have a whole section talking about this kind of preachy, forceful preachy thing that we've all experienced. Or you're like, somebody comes out with their belief, whatever, and you say, well, I don't find it convincing, because then you're already
anti-Christian or something, if you dare say that.
Right, and you're basically disagreeing with someone that somehow they believe they have the word of God figured out, and you don't,
right?
Because they know better somehow without even knowing you.
Even though it's just words on paper, and that's the thing. If somebody wants to read the Bible on their own, read Scripture, and understand it and try to decipher, that's great, and I'm all for that. And I read Scripture, okay? So, but to then say that oh well, this means this, and I'm going to tell other people what it means, and I'm going to tell other people what it has to mean, and if you don't believe the same thing that I do, then you're off your rocker. That's where it gets a little bit scary, because you're like, guys, it's just words on paper, and they can be taken any way that anybody wants them, and they always are. People would just drag them, and then they say, oh, this is prophecy. I struggle with that one, man. It's end times. Well, what do you mean it's... People in the year
all the time, just end times all the time.
200 think it was end times. People in the year 500 thought it was end times. People in the year 666 certainly thought it was end times. People in the year 999 thought it was end times. People in the year 1666 thought it was end times. It's always the end times. That's the point. That's it. So it's just when I start hearing prophecy and biblical prophecy, February 15th, people are moving out of the United States, coronavirus, the U.S. shutting down the borders. It's like that to me is not Christian. It's just not. It's just scaring people. And I think Wendell just said it, right? You're not supposed to fear those things. I certainly
You're
do.
not. I mean, everything has a little bit of like an element of truth to it, right? So there are prophecies that were, and the validation are the Dead Sea Scrolls, where we know that it wasn't inserted later on. But as far as like Israel becoming a nation again, that has never happened in the course of human history, where a people were literally wiped out and then came back as a nation again. That was a prophecy that was foretold in the Old Testament, and now we realize it now. But to take these prophecies and then use them to make people afraid, no, that wasn't their intention. So there is, there's some element of truth as far as these things that are happening that have been prophesied before. And as far as even the coming of Christ, those things were prophesied. That's like a proof, kind of a proof text, that and the miracles that he performed. But again, it's not to make people afraid or scared. It's to give them encouragement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, we can each have our own belief. I mean, I've just seen so many ways that you can twist words that it's easy to say anything is a prophecy. Anything is a... and I've tried to read them. I've tried to tell people, show me one specific prophecy. I don't really think I really see those. Now, sometimes can the words be twisted in a way that makes me think that, oh, maybe they are talking about that. Yeah, sure. But I certainly, it's not cemented. It's not nailed down. It's not like a date and a time. This will happen on this date. It's really just words. And so again, can it be construed in a certain way? Sure. And if people want to, if that helps them or makes them think that the Bible is predicting the future, then maybe. I mean, I think that there's so many verses in the Bible that tell me that it was written by some incredible people who had some knowledge, who had some love, and there's some other verses in there I wouldn't agree with that. But it's teach their own. I'm not trying to ever say anything bad about anybody because I read Scripture. So who am I trying to say? Oh, don't read it. I'm certainly not saying that. I just think when people use it for all the wrong reasons, and we see that everywhere.
Yeah, the problem is when people think that they have the final interpretation or the final vision or the final solution or the literal vision, but that's not just it. The thing is that people profit from this. That's what they do. They kind of have a whole scheme. They have a formula, which is I will talk about Jesus. I will bring up God all the time, which for me is sketchy already. It's a red flag. If that all they talk about is just that, they cannot have a conversation about anything else. I understand if people together want to read the scriptures and have a discussion and have a conversation about it, talk about what it might mean, what it means for you. It's still you won't find perfect orthodoxy where people completely. You do in some of these sects, in these supposedly there's some orthodoxy where everyone agrees, has the same opinion, right? The orthodoxy. But we actually get into the situations where you in Brazil, this is really exploding right now. The evangelical sort of part of the population is caught on to the flat earth, and in all the groups, what you see is just people just affirming. They feel the need to be affirming the word of God at every single moment, but they actually don't talk about anything else but the scriptures. And even though they found out that there's this, the thing is, they found out that the scriptures say that model is flat. There's a firmament. It's firm and solid. It's immovable, and it's a circle, and so on. It's all there, which you also see in many other sacred texts. Essentially all other sacred texts, back to the Vedas. Right. You have this, but some people, they find that if they don't, this is the big contradiction here, is like, it seems like they're afraid of insulting God by not talking about God, by not mentioning it, or by not preaching and by not proselytizing. Some people are like that. They argue that you need to go after people and get them to turn to the word of God, what they think is the word of God.
Well, and you're right in saying that people, they make merchandise out of scripture. Right. Jesus warned against people like that would use it that way, and that's not, it's no.
I think that's dangerous because, people just speaking God all the time. And what that is just a rhetorical device to get fans and to get money. And then as we see in some cases, we saw happen in the conference as well, kind of selling out for different reasons, because everyone's human and there's, people have ambitions and stuff. But when they are posing as preachers, they are positioning themselves above other people, as the source of the word is kind of what I think is more of the
master
problem.
Interpreter.
Well, the worker is worthy of their wages, right? But there's a fundamental difference between using something to make money and doing it because you love it to do. Like, Jaron, you don't do this because you're making a ton of money. I mean, even if you were, right? You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You're on a search for truth, right?
Yeah, but it's like...
doing...
I understand exactly what you're saying, but the thing is, and I agree with you, but the thing is, like, Jaron's never saying, I represent God and you're going to go to hell and la 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 if you don't do this or if you don't do that, if you don't follow this or that scripture. He's doing his own work, and everyone, should get, if you do your work in cinematography with your film and it does really well, and we all wish it does very well, and it goes to all these, it sells to Netflix or something like that, and you get a lot of money for it. It's your work. You deserve it.
Right.
And that's and I think the difference here is that you know that the whole culture, people love God and they follow the Bible, and then knowing this, you exploit that. You pose as some kind of authority somehow because you read more text or whatever it is. You have a take, but instead of putting it in a way that says, I'm just reading, I'm analyzing this, you're making predictions about the future, about the present. You're telling people what to do, how to behave, and what is safe or not safe. What's the right way to think or not to think? What's the right thing to say or not to say, and without letting them have their free will. So that goes against the moral, the base of the scripture, that free will.
And then if things you say don't come true, if things you say don't come to fruition, then it's always easy just to say, "Oh, I misheard it. I misunderstood that prophecy. Oh, I changed that prophecy.
Right, exactly.
I altered that." And
that's easy.
To me, the other thing that Dean Odell always says is he said, always, constantly, God spoke to me, Jesus came to me and said, and to me, that's just such a cop-out, because if you have Christians that watch you, what easier way for them to really tune into what you're saying than to say, well, God told me, and then when they're sitting at home and they're like, well, God doesn't talk to me, but he talks to you, so I have to listen to you. Mm-hmm. And it's such, it would be so easy for me to say every day, to come on here and say, well, God came to me last night and said that today I need to talk about the moon landing. And guess what? The sad part about that is, the incredibly sad part is that Christians who watch me would listen more intently when I said that. That's sad. That scares me. And that's why I would never say that. Even if I have some flash of brilliance or some moment of inspiration, I'm certainly never going to tell people that it was God who came to me and said these things. Now, even if I might feel that, I had some sort of special intuition at that moment, I'm certainly not going to come across and tell people that, because I don't want people to falsely fall into me thinking that I speak on behalf of God. But the scary thing is, there's people out there that do want that and are okay with that and exploit that. And sorry to say, Christopher Green is one of those. He has to mention Jesus in there. He has to sit in his car and tell everybody, oh, well, why did God send you to my channel? Because the second you say that and a Christian's sitting there watching, they go, why did I fall into this channel? Why did I tune in? Well, wow, this man's about to say something profound. Well, Jesus is the one. And then all of a sudden they've bought in. They're all in at that point. I've seen it my entire life. I grew up in the church. I was right there with the priests. I was right there as an altar server. I saw what just holding the cross in front of people can do. I saw what just sprinkling a little incense on people can make them fall into and believe. And then you go ask these priests, hey, have you ever talked to God? Well, no. Well, what do you mean? What has he, have you ever felt his presence? Yeah, I feel his presence, but like, well, yeah, so do I. But I don't know, it certainly seems like we're going a little bit step further. Why are you wearing this dress up on the altar every day? It's like, it gets a little bit, the whole Jesuit thing. And, you've got the Pope standing in front of a wall of gold telling people to give away their riches. Oh, you need to donate your riches. You need to, not hold it. What about you guys? There's more artwork in the Vatican that could solve world hunger if they sold it all.
And they have all the truth of history underneath it.
Right. In the Vatican, the locked archives, right, that we can never see. I mean, when you talk, that's being God's people. That's being Jesus' steward here on earth, is hiding texts.
Information.
Give me a break. Information. How do people not see this? I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. And so I have a hard time with it. And yeah, I mean, the other hard part for me is that I do recognize the greatness of the scriptures and the greatness of, if you want to call them the words that Jesus said. And I've said it a million times over that, wow, what's better than the 2 commandments Jesus left as far as love God, love your neighbor? You know, what's better than that? Nothing. So it's hard to have a hard thing to say about it, because I just look at it and I say, well, it's a book and it's written. But then I look and I say, well, a bunch of Catholics got together and they changed certain books. And I realize how easy it would be to scribes who copied copy after copy. They could just sit down and be told to say anything. And there's been proof of that they have changed things and honor the king and do all. I mean, I don't think God ever said honor the king. You don't know what the king is like. What if the king is being a tyrant and being oppressive? I don't think God said honor the king. But could God have said love your neighbor and love your creator? Sure, I'll give him that. So it comes down to it's each for each individual person, and people can get things out of the Bible and they can feel very connected with the creator through the Bible, and that's great. I'm certainly not saying anything bad about that. But to use it for your own advantage and to get people to watch you and to make money off of it and to talk about Bitcoin and bring people into your Bitcoin rich thing. I couldn't believe when he said yesterday that Christopher Green, I have 30,000 signups under my bitcoinrich.com. You go there and it's $250 to sign up. If he has 30,000 subscribers, that's $7.5 million. And he stands in front of a Ferrari. And I mean, that's just crazy to me. And it's the same thing with like Joel Osteen and those guys. Whew, boy, if people want to think that those people are from God, that's scary, man. I mean, God
dude,
wow.
Yeshua flipped the tables.
Right.
So he was like, he hated that. He came to dismantle religion. You know, everything that y'all just discussed is why I like fell away from all of the belief of God or whatever. But I will say, I did look into the historicity of Yeshua and found out that he actually was definitely real. And like you said, the Bible's been like heavily tainted, and so it's real hard. It's real hard to find the truth. So I just think God kind of supersedes that as long as you truly are seeking truth and trying to do what's right, you know?
And I think that's what's most important, right? Is being good to people, being honest, being truthful the best you can.
Well, it's the fruits, right? It's what Jesus said about the fruits and the tree.
Yep.
Right. And so, yeah, that's where I am. But it's, you know, whenever I even think like, oh, yeah, because there's some Christians out there that are just such great people to me. You know, Bob Skiba, you know, Paul on the Plane. I could name a million. I'm sure I'm missing, you know, I can name a million. But there's some great ones. But then every time you start thinking like, yeah, this really, then you get one of these guys that comes out of left field and talks nonsense like Dean Odell. And then you're just like, well, that's certainly not the direction I want to go. I don't want to ever become like him or any of his followers. I mean, that's ridiculous. Going around calling people antichrists and Satanists and then claiming that you're talking to God.
I think in a way you'd expect this in the United States, you know, knowing that you would have radical sort of, in that sense, Christians, you know, who are willing to judge people, cast people to hell and so on, according to, you know, not even having a conversation with the person, and it being which is so cowardly, right, as well. I mean, it's something we can do, say, with Neil deGrasse Tyson, because of course he avoids conversation, and all these propagandists, we need to go full on at them, but not at each other. And it seems that, you know, this is so odd that Christians cause a lot of division, that self-professed Christians. Somehow, right? Because, like, I have an example in Spacecraft magazine of someone that I met in Aberdeen. It was this guy from Africa. He was there with us doing the course, and he was doing his graduate studies as well in anthropology, and eventually he left. But he was there with us. We played football with him. He did all kinds of stuff with us. Then months later, we realized he's some sort of priest. We're like, what? He's a reverend. You're like, huh? How could he possibly be? It was like, I never saw him preaching. He never brought out the Bible or anything. But he and then he told me, yeah, I teach by example. I carry the word in my actions and what I do and and he could do it. He could actually do it. When people were having trouble and they were sad or something was bothering them, he was one of the people who could talk to them without any dogmatism, without pushing anything, and he would do it, and that was it. He was focused on the work, doing the good work, and that was it, which I thought was incredible. I think that this is one of the for me, it was I always kind of remember that.
Well, for me, it's just so obvious that science is a collection of people that try and do whatever they can to take away from the Creator, take away from the creation. And so if there's anything that leads me towards the Bible, leads me towards those beliefs. It's that. It's just, so you can
Right.
see it plain as day. It's like right in front of you. But again, then I fall back into
Great
this.
aid,
Okay,
right
well,
now.
if men can corrupt things like they've corrupted science, then they certainly can corrupt religion. I mean,
Oh yeah.
so-
Have they not?
Dude, what's so crazy about it is 99% of Christians, they don't even know the real story, right? Because they read the Old Testament without the context of Enoch, without fully understanding what was going on. So almost every Christian doesn't even know what really is even said to have happened. So of course you're going to get all of this corruption, you know what I'm saying, and all these people using it for money because they're not even truly understanding, they're not even really practicing the true belief of it. And so, but like you said, one of the biggest proofs for me is that there's been such a concerted effort to hide the creators, you know what I mean?
Right. No, it seems like, I always talk about the two worldviews.
Yeah,
I mean,
but they also do try to co-opt the creator, which is what they've been doing. We saw with the Ad Astra, the film Ad Astra, and the Jesuits in astronomy, right?
Well, that's why I think
also
the whole, they try and play to the meek will inherit the earth, right? They try and play that up because I think when you're out there doing evil, then what do you want? What's better for the evildoers than for Christians to just sit back and quote the Bible where it says, let evil be evil, let wicked be wicked. They're just able to sit back or not be able to, but that's what they end up doing is just, okay, I'm living a good life. I don't have to stand up to this problems. I'm just going to sit here and watch the world crumble because Jesus will come save it. So, of course, they also play up to that idea, if that's what you're saying. I may have misunderstood what you meant.
Well, that's also a thing, which is keeping people passive, and this is part of the whole program of confession, which is kind of an intelligence program, right? You know exactly what people are doing, what they're thinking all the time, and you control that. You hold powers over them. But I was talking about. I forgot what I was talking about. Slightly different, but that would do. That would do just fine.
All right. Well, let's shut down the show here. We're at 3 hours, and I forgot what else I had. I don't think I have anything else on my screen, so that'll be it for today. And then hopefully we should be having Glowbusters on Sunday. I don't know if it'll be on my channel or on the Glowbusters channel, so keep an eye out for that. But let's see what else anybody's got coming up. Austin, how about you? What do you have coming up the coming days? You're going to be going live, well, I guess maybe tonight, but and then Glowbusters, huh?
Yeah. Just go live every weeknight, and then I'll be on Glowbusters. That's about it. I was gonna debate the Craig from Fight the Tight Shirt, but I don't think I'm going to.
Fight the Tight Shirt.
Yeah.
What's that?
He keeps. Let's just say he wears medium shirts when he should not be.
Don't subject yourself to that torture, Austin.
That's what I was gonna say. There's no reason to do it unless I just went in there and decapitated him from the beginning, you know. But I don't even think it's worthy to do it, you know.
You get challenged by these guys. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that dude emailed me and blew my email up trying to debate me, and then subbed to my channel and he's commenting on all my videos. I'm like, dude, calm down.
Yeah, it's like fresh blood. They're so excited, fresh blood. And, you know, I'm all for you getting in there and doing it because I think I used to do it, and then you realize, what you're dealing with. But I think...
I remember that rock guy. I remember
I used to listen to Jaren's debates, and I'd just be like, oh, why does Jaren subject himself to this torture?
It was hard, especially when you're not a debater. I'm not a debater. I mean, you know, you're just trying to have conversations with these guys, and they all act so friendly from the beginning. You know, it's like, like that whole Aaron Raw guy or whatever. They just reach out and say, hey, this guy Aaron Raw wants to have a conversation with you. It's like, all right, I'll talk to him. And then you just realize what you're up against. And it's like so funny when your debate was moderated by Planar Walker. Who was that? I'm like, oh, boy, this is going to be good. So I'm all for you doing it. I think you do a great job. You do much better than I would do. And, maybe just some visuals so that they can have to answer some questions about these. Mm-hmm. But, again, all they're going to do is backtrack, but it's great. It's great content for us to talk about and to keep bringing up.
Edu does a great job at bringing stuff. Yeah, you're not going to be 101, but he has like a whole range of props that he prints if he goes to see people in person to avoid them cutting because they have to show him saying something. So he just puts the poster in front of his face and talks to it.
It's such a great idea.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. All right, Austin, look forward to your live streams. And if you decide to do the debate, let us all know. We'd love to tune in and hear what you've got to say and hear how these guys backtrack and basically make no sense and just convolute everything and confuse them own selves. And Rodrigo, what do you got coming up?
I think I'm going to do a live tomorrow. I called it. I'm going to riff on Neil deGrasse Tyson's video.
Oh, good.
That one, the recent on his fear of debate and what kind of double think that is, because they call that big think. And someone asked me to take a look at Michael Shermer, and I found Michael Shermer's, you have basically all the propagandists go to this thing they call big think, but it's like it'll be Shermer or Bill Nye, and they're not big thinkers at all.
They call themselves skeptics. That's my favorite. Skeptical. They call themselves skeptics, right? He's the head of Skeptic magazine. Skeptical of everything that's not space propaganda.
That's right.
Right. As long as it's not space related, then they're skeptical of it. But about the place they can't go, the place they'll never see, the place they can't go visit, they're not skeptical at all about that. That's cold hard facts. So watch out.
Or evolution, Darwinian evolution.
Right.
They
evolution.
have dinosaurs. They sell dinosaur books and stuff.
Of course. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And then for people who want to know, we'll be back Thursday for a short little presentation that Rodrigo's going to give on his Spacecraft magazine. So that'll be fun. People should check that out for sure. And, of course, I'll be here for Monday Night Raw. And like I said, Globebusters, just not sure what channel it'll be on yet. More to come on that. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Wendell, what do you have coming up? Anything going on?
I got a meeting coming up with Lamar Glover. If you'll remember, he's the scientist that was in Behind the Curve. He stood up at Astronomy on Tap and said that scientists need to reach out to flat earthers more. So he's interested in all the data that we collected from the Salton Sea observation, the salt flats, and then up there at Bear Lake. So hopefully, I want to encourage him and hopefully get him to come out to this boat observation. Maybe him and Spiros Mikolakis, who is the other scientist that's kind of been reaching out to flat earthers as well. And then the other thing that occurred to me is that we've really been trying to push Ghibli Media or encourage them to have a second episode of Flat Earthers versus Scientists. So if more people request it, I mean, that's the reason they did it to begin with, is because people requested that middle ground interview, then maybe they will have a second one. And if they do, I want to fly Austin out so that he can be part of that and just destroy anybody. Yeah, he's doing a good job, I think.
I'm down, man.
Why when I hear Lamar Glover, do I think of the Reading Rainbow guy? What's his name? Is that it's not Lamar Glover?
LeVar Burton.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah, Burton. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Lamar Glover was that guy inside when they were showing Mark Sargent outside in Pasadena with people giving him T-shirts, and then they were showing these JPL people.
Okay.
And he was saying, they're just they're just they're just scientifically illiterate. We shouldn't be so hard on them. But And that's the guy I talked to as well.
Yeah.
But he's a nice guy, and I don't know.
That's good. At least he's open to talking to us, which is more than we can say for most people. Neil
he was
deGrasse.
an anthropologist before he did this kind of, he was an anthropologist in his BA. And then in order to get a job, essentially, he did this transfer into, studied a little bit more stuff. And then he's an astrophysicist or something like that, along those lines.
All right. And Karen, last but not least, anything coming up? Anything exciting?
Just doing Strange World with Mark Sargent on Tuesdays, the day after that you're on TFR, and then Thursdays, my channel and Brian's channel, we do a show together, and sometimes in between, here, there, everywhere.
Good, yeah. It's plenty of content. People can't find it. There's all over. We're doing this Friday Lounge, then we've got Sunday. I've got Mondays on Raw, and then we're doing Thursday interviews right now, and then trying to post a video sometimes on the Tuesday, Wednesday. So just keeping very busy. I'm sure we all are, but appreciate everybody watching, and of course support the channels if you can or want to or would like to. For me, I always say thank you to all my patrons. Obviously, they make this channel possible, and I couldn't do it without them, and appreciate all their support. And if you want to join them, patreon.com/jeranism. While you're there, support Iru Landucci at patreon.com/Nur para Todos. Another new one out there that I don't know if people know about, but is Globebusters has started a Patreon. So if you want to support Globebusters, patreon.com patreon.com/globebusters. That's Bob's new site. And Austin, do you have a Patreon yet? No, maybe.
Yeah. Patreon.com/whatsitgetsit. I think
Beautiful.
I got a ton of. I think I got 2. Patrons,
That's all right.
so.
It takes time. Everybody starts somewhere. So yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey, Iru.
Iru's back.
Yeah, sorry. I
right.
was listening all the show, but I'm here trying to finish a work, and sorry for my absence.
All right,
Sorry
well,
so much.
We were just saying goodbye. Do you have anything coming up? Or we were also telling people where they can support you. Patreon.com/nuerparatodos. See?
Yeah, I heard it, and thank you so much, my patrons, of course. Rodrigo, you, Bob, and other guys are really helpful for me, at least, for investing my time in this kind of things, and not so much in my regular slavement working for the government. But no, thank you so much for support me. What's coming on for me? I'm just arrived to my country, so I need to work on a few things for my slavement, like I said before. But I hope you to reach I am really waiting for reach 1,000 subscribers in my English channels, so I can make my first live show in English. I never do that. So, of course, I know there is a lot of people that complain about my English, but I think
nobody complains about
the
your
people
English.
that support me are really going to enjoy. So I have like 900 subscribers, so I only 100 left. npt.redpill it's my YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone, if you can help me to reach the 1,000, and maybe tonight I make a show.
All right, Iru, I'll let you know too if what day works for you. But if a Thursday works for you, maybe the following Thursday after this coming Thursday when I'm doing.
Yes.
Let's
Perfect.
do a presentation, and then we can get you your subs, and you can start doing English live shows. That'll be awesome. I would be happy to join you over there.
Of course, everyone is going to be invited, and you need to attend the call.
Yes.
And came to my house, and
party.
A live stream for 50 people, 40 people, something like that.
All right, I'm down. That's going to be awesome. All right, so yeah, and I'll add Austin's Patreon to the description. I think his link is already down there, but patreon.com/whatsitgetsit. What?
Just had an idea. Not sure because Iru, you said, and I think it's true that.
What happened? He coughed too loud.
I kill him. When he said Iru said something that's true, I shouldn't. The earth is flat, man. The bullet can reach Rodrigo.
Yeah, easily.
Very easily.
Sorry. I pressed the button here.
Okay.
I coughed and I forgot to press back. So, Iru, everyone I mean, a lot of people around your neighborhood, in your town, and in Argentina, they're flat earthers, right? Terraplanistas, lots of them.
Yeah.
Have you? And I know you're doing conferences and whatnot, but have you ever tried, because you do so many lives? Have you ever tried having a live with people, like what you just said, like having people over somewhere and doing kind of a live show, almost like a conference, but not really, but still going online? Because I think you could do something like that, kind of an informal hangout kind of thing, kind of like what we do in the lounge, but actually having people in the audience or something.
That'd be cool.
I don't know.
To have everybody talk.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, that's nice idea. In fact, and in 8 days we're gonna have a new not conference, but a big meeting of flat earthers here in Argentina, like the last year. It's a free meeting, so everyone is invited. And well, I mean, here is a lot of activism. In Latin America and Argentina, so and also a lot of people, and a lot of people that follow me also speak English, and the people that participate with me also speak English, and some of them lives in United States or in London, things like that. So that is why I open my English channel, because I have a lot of information that maybe is unusual related with the flat earth topic in terms of the scientific thing, but it's more in the social meaning of the flat earth, or more the spiritual, or the history behind the flat earth, things like that. And I have everything done in Spanish, and I like to translate it and share in English, but sometimes making videos, editing videos, it's so much time consuming that it's better, just like we do here on the launch, just click transmit live and start presenting information for those channels who wants to just take the best parts and.
Yeah, and you have so many presentations already, so you can just go on from there. Easy.
All right, guys, it's been fun. On my screen is the P.O. Box. If you want to mail me a letter or something, we'll read it on the air, unless you tell me not to. P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California, 95344. And then check out the description for everybody's link. Make sure you subscribe, and also for the channels that we talked about earlier, like Sky Free and Taboo's video and, Grotto 1's video. All that fun stuff will be in the description. So that's it, guys. We'll see you soon, Sunday, for a Globebuster show. Not sure what channel. Stay tuned. We'll be back to let you know. But that's it. Anybody got any final words? All right.
Happy Valentine's.
Oh, yeah. Happy
Thank
Valentine's.
you so much.
Go hug your wife. Don't buy her any flowers.
All the best.
All right, guys. Till next time, this has been Jeranism. Peace.
Peace.